All right, y'all. Welcome to All Politics and Local America's number one political hip hop radio talk show. You know, if it's Friday, you know it's time for All Politics or Local. So listen, y'all. We have a real tight show, but unfortunately, the mayor's not going to be able to join us
Men's
tonight.
meeting. Yes.
He has a scheduling conflict tonight. He has the mayor's meeting. He was going to try to come on for the first 30 minutes, but
Right.
unfortunately, he was unable to do that. He sends along his apologies for not being able to jump on the mayor's forum. Today. But we'll look to probably pull him back in for a special conversation before his next man's form. So what we got coming up after 6 o'clock, Zay? We're gonna have to wing it for the first hour.
There is Cammie Kroft. I hope I'm pronouncing it. Yes, Cammie Kroft, who was with the Obama administration. She's one of a number of people running for Mikie Sherrill's congressional seat. Uh, After that, Dawn Haynes of the Office of Violence Prevention and Mighty Newark Anti-Violence Coalition. We had a rough weekend last week
Yeah,
on the violence front.
yeah.
Our forces got out there and shut it down the way we have a history of doing now. Will give us some talk about how we had to respond to that and work that needs to be done around that. Then Demo Chunga Lawrence Hamm will be back, and he'll be back with his vice president of the People's Organization for Progress, was vice chair rather, Larry Adams. They're both radical Princeton alum. They have an action tomorrow, an important teaching on fascism as a part of their Martin Luther King coalition, and they'll also be joined by Steve Bernhart because the three of us will be marching in a long march for Mumia. That's going to be at 7:55, and then of course DJ Rhino and all things up in the land of hip hop. So that's the run of show. I was telling our co-founder that we needed to be ready for the possibility of the mayor not being available because of his men's meetings he takes very serious, and
Right,
of course he's got his plate really really full. So we
right.
have to be ready to adjust. So
Yep,
it's totally understandable.
yep. So let me ask you a question, Zay. Just on the Momia thing. Where's that march taking place at?
It's a long march. It's going to start from Mark Lamont Hill, who will be one of the marchers, by the way,
Okay,
has a bookshop called Uncle Bobby's Book and Coffee Shop
right.
in Philly, right? And you know Philly well, right?
Yep, yep.
And
I was down there last weekend.
yeah, yeah. And so we'll start from there on the 28th of November, and we're going to march all the way to Mahanoy, Pennsylvania, in the State Correctional Institute at
Wow.
Mahanoy, Pennsylvania, where Mumia is held. That's like deep into central, almost southwest Pennsylvania. It is a 108-mile march that we will do over a period of 12 days.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's some serious walking, brother.
Yeah, yeah, we got to shake things up to get so we can get Mumia back in court and ultimately get him the hell out of the clutches of the state.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's gonna be big, man. So I know Zaid a couple of things, man. One is of course we broadcasted the NAVC rally last Sunday out there on Chancellor Avenue.
Yeah, yeah.
And Zay Bashir told me today that the other brother,
The
the
student, I
young
just
brother,
saw the post.
yeah, 19 years old. They
Yeah,
told me that he passed
yeah,
today.
yeah. He was in critical for a minute and he just slipped out of here. I just saw the post. Yes.
So that's three people now, B.
Hmm.
Wow.
And it's now over 50 students that he has lost to gun violence since he's been teaching.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's almost 2 year over a period. Let's say he's been teaching 30 years. That's like losing two students a year.
Right. Right. Yeah, so I mean, I was out there, man, with the family, and and all of them. I mean, it was amazing, man. To see the outpouring and support that the family had, and the way the community came out. But I mean, that was just an absolute shame. I know Dawn is going to be on, to come and give us her perspective on it.
Yeah,
But I can tell you, from Kim and I being out there, and of course all politics of local broadcasting live. I mean, it was heartbreaking, man. You
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
Just the mere fact, the thing I'm asking myself, when does the violence stop? B, when does it stop, man? Like
I mean,
when do these young
community-based
people?
violence intervention does what it does to drive it down, but it only goes as far as our resources allows us to put our hands directly on people. When those resources are short, and we can, if we don't have our hands on everybody that's in that energy, that's in that vibration, stuff is still going to pop off. And from a military vantage point, one of the things that this government is definitely not about, and they treat it with facades, and that was the one thin hope that I hope we would have got out of outgoing New York Mayor Eric Adams, is that there has never been a meaningful interdiction strategy when it comes to trafficking of weapons and drugs
Mhm.
to our community. It's never been a meaningful interdiction. And in the end, we often see the sinister hands of the state actually facilitating the flow. That's probably why we don't never see the interdiction, but that's really what is required, you know. And if we big picture this, Trump taking out people in fisher boats in the Caribbean Sea in the name of threatening Venezuela and stopping drug trafficking. Drugs ain't coming out of Venezuela, right? And what do we have a Coast Guard for? What do we have a Coast Guard for?
Right.
What the Coast Guard is supposed to be for, right? So you moving a whole the biggest ship in the world in the Caribbean and just picking off innocent people, right? And the meaningful tools that are in place that are not used to stop those flows between states and between countries have never been meaningfully implemented. So it's a conversation that on the law enforcement side of public safety has never been comfortable having. And when they have it, what they tend to do is go after low level stuff. People coming in on buses. This is what Adams did. To give you an example, people coming in, poor folks coming in on buses, like our folks taking a bus from Atlanta or Virginia somewhere and jumping on buses and shaking people down on buses. And then that's not how. That's not the way.
Mhm.
That is the smallest way this kind of trafficking takes place. So it's, we do what we do. We do what we can. But in the end, this is there has been a systematic pass on allowing the flow of guns and drugs into our community that is horrible and unforgivable and ultimately genocidal.
Right. And the thing is, though, Zaid, it seems like it doesn't stop, man. It seems like,
That's why it doesn't stop.
huh?
That's why it doesn't stop.
Yeah, and it seemed like once we get a handle on it, right, and we able to communicate with with some of those young brothers who don't have knowledge of self. It seemed like once we get a handle on it, and then all of a sudden the uptick starts all over again.
It's
You
it's
know,
it's, it's yeah, it's a tough cycle. We have broken it a lot. I mean, we've come a long way. When we started doing this stuff, I'm just going to use the last 20 years as a overview and whatnot. But coming out of the crack epidemic and all of that, we've come a long way to averaging, like 100 and 125 homicides a year. We're down to like 30. But whenever something happens, it's violence. It's traumatic.
right,
So people are going to feel that. People are going to be hurt. People are going to be outraged. People are going to be confused. People are going to be scared. People are going to be angry because it's messy. there's never, and there's nothing manageable, for lack of a better word, about this kind of stuff. For all that we do, right, and for all the, the effect, the good effect that our work has done and been, it's still violence. It's still violence, and the systematic arbiters of violence, unless they're meaningfully addressed, and that includes that military option I talked about. You know, it's going to require, all hands on deck from the community side approach to try and do what we can to combat it. It's really frustrating stuff, and it's painful because in the end, also, those of us who are doing the work in a firsthand way, we're not just carrying the stuff that we bring to the work with our own pain and history, but we're carrying our community's work. We're carrying the weight of these families on
Right.
top of our own. It's
Right.
just, when I have to remind folks every now and then is that the stuff that we do is built around people losing their lives.
Right.
It's hard
Right.
stuff, and it can be a lot to carry, So, those of us who have been given the resources to actually take this to that stage where we have driven the violence down to historic lows, I'm very proud of them, right? And when this wellness conversation and healing the healers conversation comes up, I'll pump that to the fullest because they need that.
Right.
They absolutely need that.
Right. But Zaid, I thought at one point, man, like particularly in Newark in our city, I thought at one point, man, with us being in the schools and having those levels of
Actually,
conversation.
I'm gonna tell you something. That is one of the weakest points of the ecosystem, right? We should be far more in the schools than we are.
Mm,
I'll let
mm,
Dawn in that when she gets on it, right? But we should be far more into the schools than we are. The
okay.
schools don't even know how to have that conversation yet. And and there, I was at a benefit today for a group that just moved into Newark, and they specialize in grief training called Imagine. And they had they get call ins, for things sometime when these things happen, as does the Newark Community Street Team. And of course, the Newark Community Street Team does Safe Passage After School, which has been a big, you know, big hand in cooling that violence as it plays out around the schools. But that should be the natural partner, starting from as young as, I would say the upper years of elementary school. you know
Right.
Kids get affected by it young,
Right.
and it needs to be, if a trauma informed strategy towards reducing violence requires those of us doing the work to be trauma informed, everybody who comes in touch with it, who are natural stakeholders, need to be trauma informed, and that includes our teachers, our principals,
Right.
all of the, child care workers, all of that. All of those spaces need that support, that training, and because you just, it's here. It's going to happen until, like, those other system arbiters take place, that we clean up, trying to make some real change in this racist, corrupt, genocidal system that we're trying to
But I,
dance
but I,
around.
but I think, Zaid, that's where we're gonna have to go, man. And I think that we've got to have that meeting with Roger and say, look, man, we've got to get more into the schools, because you think about it now, you know, he's got two of his young students, right, at Chancellor School who were actively involved in this particular incident that took place last Saturday,
Mm-hmm.
right? You got one of the little brothers, he's dead, and then his other brothers in the hospital recovering, right? One's 10, I think the other one's 11. I mean, come on, man. We need, and those are the young kids.
All hands on deck.
Right. But
Yeah,
those are the kids that they are going out and they're trying to recruit.
yeah,
Right.
that's right. That's
And
right.
so we need to be in there with those 10, 11-year olds. And it's one thing, Zaid, to walk them to school, yes, but it's another thing to help give these kids, the knowledge of self, give them, the feeling of knowing that they've got community support, people they can call, people they can talk to, right? And with some of those street organizations, we know that some of them brothers, were former, members themselves.
Mhm.
But we need to be able to make these kind of contacts, man, to stop this stuff before it occurs. Right?
Several years ago, when the Newark Community Street Team was first developed, right? We had, I forget what the subject was, but we had a teaching and at the that we organized through the Ironbound Community Corporation, and I was the police reform person in the conversation. And I said it then, and I said it now, and it is, I think the city, while we did a lot with only using 5% of the police budget, only 5% of the police budget, we did a lot. I mean, that those numbers are real numbers,
Right.
right? And there are things happening in the city that are healthy that would not be possible had we not done all that work to clean up a whole lot of this violence, right? I had to tell folks that there's a whole nother side to the Panther legacy. Then we had a Sodders Memorial Saturday, and we also lost a brother, and I want to lift him up here. His name is Akil Bashir. Akil
Okay.
joined the party when he was 15 out in LA. Serious martial artist, all of that, all that stuff that comes with Panther training and whatnot. And he developed a full curriculum modality to train even the baddest of credible messages in what we call high risk intervention, the most dangerous side of community-based violence intervention work, when brothers and sisters are going into those so-called hot spots,
Right.
talking to those bangers, having those hard conversations and whatnot, trying to identify what everybody needs and what needs to happen to make incident A not go to incident B and C, and he just passed away, right? And so I have been talking to Damon Ali, who was like one of their top uh, persons in their organization now, about really doing a tribute to him in a way that educates our community as to what this is. So there's more of a call for the community to demand more investment into the work, right? New Community Street Team, for example, as I was saying at the top of this conversation, right? Their work is centered in the South Ward, right? Because as we done data work around where all this violence is popping off at, a lot of it tends to be in the South Ward. But I said from then that we needed to build out a structure like the Newark Community Street Team that is citywide.
Right. Right.
That is citywide. And to be willing to make the investment, from city dollars. Our kids, the reason why young folks say Black Lives Matter is because we have to make them matter, right?
Right.
And we got the purse strings to a whole city, right? And we need to use more of those purse strings to really make that kind of investment, so we have a balanced, more comprehensive approach to using this strategy to driving this violence down. We've done good work, but it's tough work. And in this climate where like all the federal money has been cut away, right? It gets tougher.
Right.
It gets tougher. And that's, the Trumpites and the right wingers, they don't want to do nothing but see us kill each other and lock us up anyway. Right? Because that gives their poor white boys jobs. Man, it's a vicious cycle.
But also, one of the problems that we have, man, is that I don't know if you remember, you know, that poster behind me, right? When the mayor walked the entire city,
Mm-hmm.
and you remember when he was talking about, having the mothers who were having difficulty with their sons, having them bring their sons, to City Hall, to talk with him.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, he took a lot of flack for that, for saying that to the mothers.
And he should have been overwhelmed by it. That's how
Right.
many mothers should have been coming.
Right. Right. And what I'm saying is, the statement was correct, because, as you know, a lot of these young brothers live either with their single mothers, or they live with their grandmothers,
Mhm.
right? For the most part, their fathers are not in that house. And for some of them, they don't even, if they have a relationship with them, with their fathers, they don't see their fathers on a regular basis, right? So they don't really have that kind of contact. And so, one of the things I was saying to Bashir is that I think there needs to be a meeting where we can, how we do the men's meeting, all of the brothers get together. I
This is
think,
what this was the engine that drove the start of the men's meeting.
right. But what I'm saying is, I think that what we should do is that and if the mayor was on tonight, I was gonna ask this, have this conversation. Let's do a meeting for the mothers, right? And have a meeting where the mothers can bring their sons, right? Bring your young sons to the meeting, the mothers and the sons, because and then have the brothers there, yes, but we want the mothers there. We want to try and see if we can make that kind of connection where we all can get together and do some building together, because I mean we've talked about a family meeting, but we haven't had it, Zaid. You know what I'm saying? Right? We need that, man. And I think that we've got to find what that allure is, for them young boys to be allured, by these older guys into these different meetings and so forth. I think we've got to find that. You know,
It's the romanticizing of violence. This stuff is always. This is a country built on genocidal violence. They wrote, we are old enough to see the romanticizing of the cowboys killing the Indians. America winning every war by just slaughtering a whole lot of people and all that, right? The relationship, the love of gangsters, right? One of the most popular genre in American film is the gangster genre,
right?
right? When hip hop at its golden age, when it was, actually sending out important messages, corporations came in and hijacked it and pushed, the gangster stuff, right? I mean, so I mean, there's the big picture requires us to see those external hands that don't give a damn about our community being healthy and are hell bent intent on driving that romance because in the end it ends up lining certain forces pockets with profit, with money and markets. And and that's the systematic character of this whole thing. Black Panther Party said you always got to be able to see the big picture when you're attacking a problem you want to solve thoroughly. Councilwoman Donna Williams has joined us.
So
Hello, hello.
what's good, D? So
Yeah,
so D, the mayor, unfortunately got hung up tonight because of his men's meeting.
yeah.
So he's having a conflict of interest with his schedule. So
Mhm.
Zaire and I was just having a conversation as it relates to, you know, um, being able to reach these young brothers and their mothers and grandmothers, because as you know, most of these young boys live with either their mother or their grandmother, right?
Right. Mm.
And but what is the allure? And I see, Miss Jones chiming in, and she's making some
Mhm.
good statements,
Mhm.
with regards to,
We see it,
how
we
to
see it,
reach these young brothers. But I think that, and she's right. We need to reach these young sisters too, because a lot of these sisters are young mothers, right, who got
Right.
these sons. But
Mhm.
but the mayor had said 2 years ago, when he did that march through the city of Newark as it relates to violence, he was saying to those mothers, "Bring your sons to me." You know what I mean? And one of the things Miss Jones is saying is correct. These young boys want to feel loved. They want to feel like they belong
Right.
to something. They want to feel
Mhm.
like they're important. The question is how do we socialize them, right?
Mhm.
In a community, right, that sees them, right, that doesn't necessarily see them because they need to be violent, or see them because they need to be carrying a gun, or see them because they need to be disrespectful, but a community that sees them because, right, they are young men who are respectful, right,
Right.
or young men, that are decent, right? Not these guys who are running around terrorizing the community and then ultimately killing other community members, right? But
Right.
also, also we, and I heard Zaid when he said, we're talking about using community dollars because we don't have federal dollars, right?
Mhm.
But we've got to be willing to do that because I think that at this very moment, you can't place a dollar amount on a life, right?
That's right.
And before you
Mhm.
came on, Donna, we were saying that, Bashir told me tonight that the other young 19-year-old lost his life, right? He was, they said earlier in the week that
Is
he
that
was
the sibling of
no,
the? So we know one the young man was killed immediately at the site,
the
and
10
we
year,
know, the 10-year-old, and his sibling was shot as well.
right? But he's not him, he's fine. But there was also
Okay.
a 19-year-old that was
Okay.
shot, and they said that he was brain dead during the week, and but he went home to be with the Lord today. I
He
mean, that's what,
succumbed.
yeah.
Mm.
And so, that's one of the things that I think we've got to get at, is how do we, you know, begin to reach these kids. And what I suggested was is that we have the kind of, because we have the men's meeting, but what about a mother and sons meeting, right? Where
Right.
you have to invite the mothers and invite the sons and then have all of the resources down there available to help them, right?
Now
And
Dawn's coming on today too, right?
yeah, she's coming on later.
And didn't they start the kind of juxtaposing next to Mayor Baraka's men's meeting? Wasn't there a women's meeting already going on?
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's women's meetings.
yeah.
Yeah.
There is a women's meeting going on. So you're saying a step further that we're gonna do a mother and sons meeting,
Yeah,
suggesting.
talk about
Okay.
something like that where you have, where we're talking about, community mothers and sons, right?
Right.
Where they can bring their sons to this meeting, and we have all the resources to help her, all the resources to help him, right? Help both of them, because one of the things Miss Jones was saying, and I agree with her, we've got to be able to help these mothers. We got to be able to reach these mothers, right?
And it's kind of maybe a reimagining because Shaq already, and I don't know if the Big Brothers program that Shaq had in the community, I know that building was repurposed for a school, but was the program for Big Brothers, was that relocated, or we no longer have that program in Newark anymore?
Maybe Zaid know more
I
about
don't know
that.
anything about Shaq's program. I have no
Me
idea.
Yeah,
either.
that was the Big Brothers program that right down there by and Minister Hawk may know because it was right down there by the mosque that they
Oh,
had. But that was
that was a boys and girls club.
right,
That was
and that was
repurposed for.
That was Shaq's program.
Yeah, I didn't know about his hand in that, but that was a
Oh
boys and
yeah,
girls program that was
yeah,
repurposed, and it was a KIPP school. It turned out to be. It's now the KIPP
mhm,
Collegiate Academy. It's a high school now, right? In fact,
exactly. So
my
yeah,
daughter
that
graduated from that high
yeah,
school, and the mosque used to be directly across the street. That's on Littleton
mhm,
Avenue.
exactly. And I know that Shaq was very instrumental, and I know a lot of the mothers that worked in that program, social workers that worked in that program, and they did a lot of work. So I don't know if that program was relocated or if it was discontinued, because oftentimes, and like I said, there's a women's program, and I know there's a hub. There's a lot of programs that are going on.
There he
Hey,
is. There he is. There he is.
Bashir
There
would
he
know.
is.
So there's a lot of programs that are going on, and I will even say that I know in my community when there were single mothers, the fathers actually kind of stepped in when there were single mothers where there was never a household who felt like there wasn't a father present or helpful in some capacity. And I even sometimes talking to my husband and everything, and he talk about how like growing up in New York and how the fathers like would come in and how they would all from a community standpoint, if one kid did something, they would do certain things to make sure that lessons were learned and everything. So I think that is a great idea. But one of the things that's instrumental is just, taking fathers who are already in the community and seeing how right in their block that they can be helpful. Sometimes we're not the community like we grew up in, that everybody knew everybody, especially in that immediate block. Everybody knew everybody, from whether you borrowed a cup of the sugar or, you couldn't do anything past your porch because somebody was going to call somebody and it was going to get back to your parents before your parent or parents before you got home. And I think, just getting back to community is helpful because a lot of times we're so disconnected, in this quote unquote social media age. We are very, very disconnected. Nobody knows their neighbor. Nobody communicates with their neighbor. And that's not how we grew up. The neighbor could almost chastise you until your mother got home and then you would get in trouble again. And I think that's a part of the problem as well.
Yeah, well, not having community, but let's welcome our brother, Bashir, to the show.
One of your founding producers,
Yeah.
Mr. Teacher of the Streets.
So take us back on a history lesson when it comes to community.
Coming in on some real shadow pain too, because
first let me say this. I want to give Bashir really, really big congratulations, man, because I think that what the NAVC did on Sunday, man, not only moved me, but I think that for them to come out and support that family, it was really, really raw out there. And I think, what Don and Sharif and Truvy and all of them did out there that Sunday, man, was, I'm still, I sit back and think about it because it was so raw. I think about the courage that these community members have and love for our people in the hood, man, is I felt honored just to be there to cover it for us, for All Politics and Local. So I just wanted to say publicly to Bashir, who was one of the organizers, with Don and Sharif and Truvy and really, really just coming out there and doing that. I just want to say publicly to him, thank you for inviting me to come out, and thank you for letting us cover it live. So thank you, my brother.
Oh no, brother. Big shout out, big props, big strong round of applause to you, brother Ed, and All Politics Local Radio Show, the number one political hip hop radio show in America. Thank you for actually filming the entire rally that we did for the family and the community out there on Leslie and Chancellor Avenue. For those of you who don't know, it was a mass shooting um, act of senseless community violence that uh, made five people victims of violence in that neighborhood. Well, now three are gone now. Unfortunately, senseless violence claimed the life of a 10-year-old baby, a woman, a mother, a 21-year-old mother, and now my former student, brother Masai. Some people call him Masai, some people call him Masai Rogers. He was my former student. He has just returned to the Creator as well. May the Creator, forgive him all his sins and grant him paradise. I mean. But in that spirit, and that's in those spirits, I gotta start with this. What we say, what the NAVC, the Newark Anti-Violence Coalition, says when we go into violent neighborhoods. We say stop the shooting. We
That's
say
right.
stop the killing. We say
Stop the
stop the violence.
That's right.
We say Black Power.
That's
All
right.
power to the people.
All power to the
Assalamu
people.
alaikum.
Peace in
Hotep.
Truth.
And those of you who don't know what the word Hotep actually means, it is an ancient
Peace.
African Egyptian Kemetic word for peace. Some historians, some Egyptologists say this is the oldest word, written word for peace in human history. So Hotep, proper education, peace, proper education, always correct errors, peace in the streets. So that's what we say when we go to these neighborhoods when there's a shooting, when there's a killing. We say that to raise the conscious levels of our people. And let me just say this too, because I heard when I was coming on, I heard Donna was talking about, I heard she's talking about, what we used to do. We did have a village at one time. One time we did have a village, right? We had people who looked out for one another. I'm talking about black people who looked out for one another. You borrow some sugar, people. If you need some sugar, you can borrow some sugar from your neighbor. If your kids were out in the community, out in the streets, the community will look after the children, right? When mom and pop maybe weren't there. And then we had a significant number of black men in the family at back in the day. I'm talking about the early 1970s, right? Late 60s, 1970s, right? We had that. But all of that is gone now. All of that has been systematically erased, right? And then on a community level, right? On a community, and Baba Zaid, you appreciate this. The government waged a war
Right.
against Black America by killing, by assassinating many Black leaders who headed major Black organizations such as the original Black Panther Party, the Nation of Islam, right? We those organizations, they were important in our community because they they uh they took in, you know, folk who may one may, or I should say wanted, maybe wanted to do some criminal stuff, right? But they took them in and they politicized them and made them revolutionaries, right? So they took a lot of these brothers and sisters into their organizations, right? That help empower the community, help liberate the community. But those organizations came under attack, by the government, by the FBI's COINTELPRO, right? Then once they destroyed those leaders and neutralized those organizations, they jumped drugs in the community, right? Starting with heroin, right? Heroin was dumped
Yeah.
into the community in the 1970s. In the 1980s, crack cocaine was dumped into our communities, destroying that village, right? So I say all that to say this: that has led to our village being broken, brothers and sisters. Yes, we may have had in certain neighborhoods, you still maybe have remnants of some sort of village, some sort of community, but on a mass level, from Jersey to California, the Black community was falling apart. It was quickly falling apart to the point where we at today, to the point where there's the absenteeism of Black males and the Black fathers in the home, grandma raising everybody, right? uh very few independent Black organizations in the community now, right? All of these things have led to what we at today: the shootings and murders, the inhumanity, this whole lack of respect for Black humanity, coming from our people, right? We know our enemies don't respect Black humanity, but it hurts more when your own people don't respect our own humanity, right? When Black lives don't matter to our own people, that's a
Black
big
people.
problem. That's
Mhm.
right.
Yeah.
That's a big problem. And that's happening right now. That's why folk can come on a block and shoot up a block and kill women and children. All right. And I hate to be really blunt, but I'm going to be blunt with your audience, Brother Ed, Baba
Yes, sir.
Zaid, Sister Donna. I'm going to be blunt. I'm not
No
shocked by
lies
this, man.
claim no easy victories.
I'm not shocked by this at all. I'm not
Mm.
shocked by this because, again, these conditions, right?
That's right.
Conditions that I talked about earlier have led to this point, have led to this, like I said, lack of respect for Black lives, lack of respect for Black humanity, right? We're gonna have to kind of put the pieces back together again, right? We're gonna have to be like, that the ancient Kemetic the ancient Kemetic cosmogony. Hope I said it right. That talked about brother Haru being broken, right? And sister Asar, which is who is called Isis, right?
Mm-hmm.
Had went around the earth and picked up the pieces of Haru, right? Put him back together again. That's what we're gonna have to do. We're gonna have to pick up the pieces in our community to put our community back together again.
So he can't help
Right.
Bashan. He's ready to help himself until he realizes he need.
You know, so this is what we're gonna
help.
have to do, family. Right. Put our, put the pieces, put our pieces of our broken neighborhoods, our broken community, our broken people back together again to make our people whole. So that black humanity and black lives are respected again. All right. And it helps. I mean, you got people like, what really helps is you got people like our dear brother Raz J. Baraka. I would be remiss if I didn't mention all the great help, all the great efforts he has done, banging on a system to provide resources, right, to employ folk, right, to get folk money, resources to help stop the violence. So, out of his department, the Office of Violence Prevention and Trauma Recovery, they had helped dramatically, dramatically
Laid
reduce
it out. We laid
violence
it
in our
out.
community. Right.
Say it again. That's right.
I mean, dramatically. I'm talking about in historic proportions have helped reduce violence in our community. Right. That has happened. But when you're a mother, and I think Sister Dawn had broke this down, when you're a mother, all that stuff, that don't mean nothing. That don't mean nothing when you lose a loved one, or anyone that loses a loved one. Statistics don't mean anything, you know. And
So,
that's
so
rightly, and that's the right kind of thinking, because one life. If we lose one life, that should cause alarm. You
That's
know,
right.
and
Every single incident has its heavy weight of trauma
that's
that
right.
affects everybody connected with every family member, every neighbor, the neighborhood, the school, with everything that person who was killed that has all those touch points in that person's life. All of those folks are traumatized, and we need to
Absolutely.
go and we need and it's hard work, it's messy work, but it's work that
Yes.
we must do.
Say that
so
again, brother. Say that again, Baba Zai, for the people in
It
the
is
back.
work
It's
we
hard
must
work,
do.
messy
That's right.
work. It's roll up your sleeve work, get your boots dirty in the ground kind of work, and some
Get the
folk not
blood
willing
out
to
your
do that.
fingernails. That's right. All of
Right?
that.
Some
so
folk,
so
some folk not willing to do that. I'm,
And
sa-
and
but I'm saying,
Bashir, how
Yes.
long has Newark anti-violence been around?
We
oh
started in
man,
2001.
since 2009,
Yes,
July
yes,
2009,
July 20th.
when our dear brother, Mayor Raz, well, he wasn't the mayor then, but he was a community activist back then. But
Mhm.
when our brother Raz J. Baraka called us all into the intersections of Meeker and Elizabeth Avenues,
Shut it down.
where where a sister named Lakeisha Allen was killed in a crossfire. All right,
Mhm.
by two brothers trying to gun each other down. She got
3 o'clock
caught in the
in the
crossfire.
afternoon, broad daylight, kids coming home from school, crazy as
Absolutely,
hell.
so
absolutely.
Bashir,
And I'm saying, and it was a series of murders, and they shot up the little. There was a daycare center in
Right there.
Carmel Towers at the
Right
time.
there.
They shot that all up too. The
Right there.
teachers and the kids were underneath the tables hiding out. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't
Right.
know that that's what happened.
And I
So
just
Brother
asked
Raz
that.
called us into the streets.
so Donna, hold on a second. Bashir, I was just wondering, just so we don't get lost on the time. I just want you to introduce Dawn, man.
Mhm.
You know,
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's one of our co-founding members.
Who needs no
Sister,
introductions?
Sister
One of
Dawn
our,
Hay.
one of our
See,
best in the street.
absolutely.
One of our
One of
best.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. One of our best, one of our co-founding members of the mighty Newark Anti-Violence Coalition. She used to be the former president of the Newark Board of Education. Politically, all right,
Mhm.
politically, but she does so much in our community. She's currently working out of the Office of Violence Prevention and Trauma Recovery, Brick City Peace Collective. But she also does great community work with the Newark Anti-Violence Coalition. So without any further ado, we want to introduce our dear sister, strong Muslim sister, strong Black woman Muslim. In fact, I'm gonna say it like this: she Muslim and is unapologetically Black. Our dear
And
sister Dawn Hayes. Assalamu alaikum.
And Dawn, before you start, I just wanted to ask that question because every time,
Why?
sadly, we have this in our community, the first thing, or one of the things you hear is, why is there not an outcry when there's crime in our community? And I just want to make it clear
Big
that
white lie.
this organization has been going on, what we just said, now for 16 years, and they are there on day one when these type of crimes happen, particularly in our own community, and they're there to assist everybody from the family to the community. So I just wanted to make note of that. Hey, Dawn. Hey, beautiful.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Peace, family.
Peace, family,
Hey,
peace,
daughter, what's
peace.
going on?
We start every rally with in those words of peace, family. We start
That's
with
right.
peace.
That's right.
We started with peace because it has to begin with self.
Go ahead, sister.
May Allah make me better than the people believe and conceal the sins that I have. But thank
I
y'all for
mean,
allowing me to be here.
Mama shout you out, Dawn. You see that, right?
Yes, sir. So the Newark Anti-Violence Coalition, I mean, when that initial call came in, I don't think any of us understood what would be happening in our era to help decrease violence and what it would birth 16 years later. I don't think that we thought about. We might have felt the dangers in it, but stopping traffic on 280 or Route 21 or
that's what
That's
we did.
right.
we didn't do like the
Gun down
marches
NJ
in front of City Hall.
That's right. All of that.
We went to the locations where the murders was happening at, where the violence was happening at, and we appealed to people's better nature, even those that are looked at and despised for their choices of their behaviors, right? Like, we went to the gangsters. Listen, y'all could join us for this rally, or we're gonna shut it down for the next hour or so, depending on when we decide to stop. But y'all more than welcome to come out here with us. The grandmothers felt welcome to come out, and
we did it through the
outcry.
rain, sleet, snow, hot weather, cold weather.
Oh
Whether it
man,
was
extreme weather where your sneakers was melting at the bottom from the pavement, or
That's right.
zero below, -3. I remember Street Doctor. I love me some Street Doctor.
Yes.
And
Yes.
he coined me his Nurse Boulevard.
Yes.
I don't know the language.
Go ahead.
And we were out with matching fatigue snowsuits because it was so cold outside. But the murder was on Aldine and St. James, and we were standing on snow mounds on Springfield Avenue. Like, these are things that we don't get to erase the memory of it, or the passion behind it, or the emotional response to our people suffering.
That's right. Go ahead, Sister Dawn. Break it down. Go ahead.
And so we look at it now in 2025 and seeing that mass shooting that happened the other day. And we've always been screaming and crying and praying, because that's what I do when I'm out there. So I know it's like sometimes like, oh, the Muslim woman is out there. Like, I've coined that reputation. It's fine. It is what it is. Nobody can tell me how to heal through the trauma in my community, and yelling and releasing it in that way. I think that's the only reason why I've been able to keep going in this work, because I'm not holding on to it. I'm able to yell. I'm able to scream. I'm able to pray out loud, outside, over my community. It means so much for people in my community to trust me enough to identify what our issue is and how we can help solve it ourselves.
That's right. That's right. Teach, Sister Dawn. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that was the whole point of the whole approach. We used a protest strategy to prevent the normalization of accepting that condition. we inconvenience everybody, targeting natural stakeholders who do not invest into our community, but we didn't care who we interrupted and made a space for community to come out, come in, be heard, be felt, and in that circle, right? And that is as old as our ancestors, trying to figure out the culture or create that culture to get off them plantations and to undermine those plantations, a circle for them to come and be whole, be heard, and to be held.
And we wasn't rude. We were not rude.
That's
like
right.
we have strategy. We have standard operation procedures. This was not by whim. This was this group of folks. Y'all know what your role is. We know what your role is. We know who had the role of the children, because I had my children with me everywhere. My now 19-year-old was we talking about 16 years of protesting. My children was at my side the entire time, and so was Sister Alnisa. And so we had protocol in place. If the police come aggressively, this is the car that the kids get in and they safe. Foxy, my sister Natasha, may Allah be pleased with her efforts in changing the conditions of our community as well. Foxy would be in the car doing homework with the kids while we were setting up for rallies and protesting. So we had, and if we had to, when we stopped the buses, one of our beautiful faces is on the bus. Listen, family, we apologize for any inconvenience, but a family right now is heartbroken because the yellow tape was up when they put it up. And so today we decided to put it up. And y'all can join us. Same thing we said to the gangsters. Y'all can join us, or you can wait for the next buzz.
That's right.
And so we were outside yelling and screaming and hollering and praying. Now it's a little different. We can call our dear brother, Mayor Baraka, and we try our hardest not to, because he's shown us how to navigate these systems without putting that pressure on him to be the end all fix all, right? Leaders produce more leaders.
Absolutely.
Good
And
leaders.
Don, we gotta make a point about this. Out of the activism, the community activism and agitation of the Newark Anti-Violence Coalition, the mighty Newark Anti-Violence Coalition, NAVC, the Office of Violence Prevention and Trauma Recovery came out of that. It came out of that. That whole struggle.
The Brick to the Peace Collective came out of that.
Absolutely. And
there are Office of Violence Preventions around the country now, all on the heels of what we did right here in Newark.
Absolutely.
Federal legislation came out of that.
And our dear brother Raz J. Baraka, Mayor Raz J. Baraka, again, he is the founder of the Newark Anti-Violence Coalition. He started it. All right. So when he got in the office, one of the first things he had on his agenda was creating something like an office of. He didn't have the name for it at the time, but he said, "I got to do something. I'm in political power now. I'm going to use this office to address senseless community violence." And alhamdulillah, he created the Office of Violence Prevention and Trauma Recovery, which is the ecosystem of many organizations, anti-violence organizations, healthcare workers, therapists, psychologists, all working sometimes independent of each other, sometimes together. But the ultimate goal, the objective, is to stop the violence in the city of Newark. So big props to Mayor Raz J. Baraka. I don't give a damn who like him, who don't like him. The brother has put in work, banged against that system that provided resources, money, right? Money, resources to fund organizations to help reduce, if not stop, violence altogether. Big props to the brother.
Big props.
Big props
And
to
so
all.
just for points of clarity, before the Office of Violence Prevention was created, the mayor again created a space for organizations, grassroots organizations, right? Like NAVC, we know how to get to the problem, right? Then he included the North Public Safety Collective, which is the people who collect data for Rutgers. So now you got the people who was collecting the data, the police department, grassroots organizations, and educational institutions, heads faithfully sitting and discussing how do we really look at this in a real way to fix it. Y'all have the money, y'all have the data, but we have the people. So what do we do? Oh, put us in the same room to have these conversations. And I'm talking about strategies came up. You're talking about juvenile deterrence. The stolen cars went down because we were able to identify the who's, right? That's so-and-so son. And whatever set he a part of, let's look at how we can actually Go to his school, figure out what his educational plan is. Is he out on an IEP? Is he out here stealing cars because he's suspended from school? Like, what is the problem? Look at the entire person. What is his mother into? How do we help his mother redirect whatever she's going through? So we're in these rooms. How are we changing the policies that are legitimately destructive to our community, that are systematically holding people oppressed? A kid, you mean the police got the discretion on whether this kid get locked up or whether it's a station house adjustment? Let's look at that policy and figure out how to change that language. Because no, we have to have something else in place to say, no, we got real things that can happen. Oh, we need social workers inside of the police precinct. The police precinct needed social workers because the police be dealing with social issues that they don't get to debrief from without being pretty much criminalized, if you ask me, by having their guns removed if they say they have issues. That's something that we really do need to look at. But we were able to put social workers in every precinct. So now we're able to look at, okay, this person is incarcerated. This person got arrested. The social worker can help minimize the trauma that happens when police interactions happen.
Go ahead. That's right.
And address it. And so that was super important for our children, because when they go to the youth house, sometimes their mothers don't answer the phone. Sometimes they are in situations and you have a warm face that's coming from the Office of Violence Prevention that's not a police officer. But all of that came out of meetings with the Brick City Peace Collective, and you breaking down what the issues is, where the hot spots are, why these things are happening, and who's causing it. And so not in a punitive way, but like, no, the police got a job to do and we got a job to do. How are we doing it? And out of that, fast forward with the Newark Community Street Team being involved.
Right.
Again, something Mayor Raz J. Baraka created. Mukaran was Brother Tyrone Barnes. He was leading it when they came up with the name.
That's right.
Got a book out too, by the way. You guys just want to lift that up. Keep going.
He do have a book. Check his book out.
Yeah.
And that was based on the NAVC strategy, right? Of going out into the community, having credible messengers, which is a term that's now popularized, and putting those people in their community to figure out what's going on. Then Mayor Baraka and our beautiful Deputy Mayor Lakeisha Yuri, give us my chocolate drop. They came up with another strategy. I was able to get my certification through Rutgers based on the capstone I did on our One Hood model, which is now not just in the city of Newark, but also in Alabama and other places that's taken that model, where that's what was missing out of fixing the problem, right? So we have all of these people who pontificate and know what's going on, but y'all forgot to mention the fact that the people who may have caused this headache when we was out there 16 years ago, begging, screaming, and hollering for the men to put the guns down, and for
with us trying to get it done.
Right. So now that they're able to redeem their work and have a place inside of the ecosystem.
Dawn, I'm glad you mentioned that part. You said that we're trying to fix a problem that has been neglected for decades. And that's what has happened. For decades, the problems have been totally ignored by the system, and to a certain extent by us as well. Right? I mean, you're talking about high incarceration rate of Black men and now Black women, but I was deliberate. The system created these conditions to lock our people up, right? They created that condition, right? They created the conditions of drugs. I mean, literally, our people, our community, right, were the victims of a chemical warfare that took place. Drugs were dropped on the community at the height of Black power and the civil rights movement. Drugs were dropped in our community. Heavy.
It's happening now. I mean, if we're going to keep it completely clear, the way that cannabis is being used right now is killing us in a way that I don't think most people care to even dive into the conversation.
Listen, y'all. Listen, I need y'all to put a pin on that, right? And because I've got the 7 o'clock guest coming on who's running for Mikie Sherrill's seat in Montclair. So we want to bring her on. She's going to be on.
She'll make the announcement.
And then you guys can come back and let's jump into it, because I know the street council, I think he want to get involved in this conversation. So let's see if y'all can come back in about 20 minutes, or y'all can just stay around y'all want.
Yeah,
Okay.
go on and book out your time.
Well, we just want to make an announcement tomorrow. Tomorrow's a community meeting tomorrow at the Masjid Ibrahim, the masjid that was where the mass took place on Leslie and Chancellor. It's going to be a community meeting at Masjid Ibrahim, which is on the corner of Wainwright and Chancellor Avenue, about 4:30, right after Salatul Maghrib. All right, after the Muslims pray, we're going to have a community meeting, right, for the Muslims. And then we're going to have a community meeting for Muslims and non-Muslims. And the Imam
And,
asked me to say a few words about
and Bashir,
organizing community against the violence.
who's the imam there now?
Imam Derek Kareem. Imam
Okay,
Derek Kareem.
that was who was on last time.
Yes, yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
so
For
because
those,
I
for
was
those who
gonna
don't, for those
go
who
ahead.
don't know, Imam Mustafa Al Amin was the
Mhm.
resident Imam of Master Ibrahim, legendary Imam who passed away about 3 weeks ago. He returned to Allah. All right, he passed away, but he was a respected leader in the Muslim community in that area. He co-founded Masjid Ibrahim on Chancellor Avenue on Wainwright.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. So y'all can stick around, or y'all can
Come
come
back
back.
7:20. Stay there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to come back. Inshallah.
Yeah.
God
Yeah,
willing.
come back
All right.
in 20 minutes.
But
Let's
thank
get
you, all politics local. Thank you so much. All politics local, the number one political hip hop radio show in America, y'all.
That's right, y'all. So we want to give Connie her time, you know.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. All right now, family. Stop the shooting, stop the violence, stop the killing. Hotep, assalamu alaikum. Peace in the streets.
Salam,
All
peace
right.
and
See y'all in 20 minutes.
Now, is it Cammie or Connie?
It's Cammie.
Tammy.
It's Cammie. Okay.
Apologies. I've been out talking to people all day today. So your
Good
guys
job.
me at the end of the day.
Good job. Hitting those doors. Okay.
Hitting the phones a lot today too.
That's right.
Some breaking news today. We have a special primary election date set by the governor. It's going to be Thursday, February 5th. And we just got a few, like it's going to be a fast 10 weeks to get out the votes in that special election.
And that's for District 11?
That's for New Jersey's District 11 to succeed our great Congresswoman Mikie Sherrill, who's moving on to the governor's mansion.
Governor-Elect Sherrill. So
Governor-Elect, yes.
Go ahead, Don. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead. So Cammie, let us know. Put your hand up if you need us to fill in, because that's a good job. You're losing your voice. That means you stretching those
You're staying in the streets of Newark, putting in work.
yeah, out there on the phone and everything.
I'm a door knocker. I've been knocking on doors all summer for
Good
this
for you.
governor's race. I was not surprised by the big win a couple weeks ago, and
Okay.
I'm ecstatic that it keeps creeping up. Like I think we're over 14 points now that she won by, and I just think it really shows the enthusiasm in the moment that we're in. Of people are sick and tired of being sick and tired, and we want our country back. And the number one thing that I heard in knocking on doors all across the district of New Jersey 11 was wanting to be PT in a post-Trump world and a post-Trump America, and for all of this bad to go away. And this race to succeed Mikie Sherrill, it matters because it is such a unique one, and it's the first congressional contest of 2026. With that election date as February 5th, and with this district in large part due to the great work of Mikie and her team since they flipped the seat in 2018, have made it, I call it a periwinkle blue seat for Democrats. This is an opportunity for Democrats to lead and say that we're not just about stopping Trump, but we're also about rejecting a status quo that is not and has not been working for some time. And we need to be electing a new kind and a new generation of leaders who fundamentally understand that and are shaping a narrative about who we need to be and show up to be as a party. So you want me to keep flowing?
Well, I was going to ask about your background. I know you worked for the Obama administration.
I did.
And shout out to Pamela Chamba, who brought your name up, and she's a former student of mine. And I know that you work together in an immigrant rights organization. So give us something about your background, like working with the Obama administration. What does that mean? And who are you? It's a place also to introduce yourself.
Of course. And first, I just also want to add my gratitude to her and to you all for creating this space for me to be hanging out with you on a Friday evening, and not to be putting my kids to sleep right now. So thank you all for that. So a little bit about me. I'm a mom of 3 kiddos, ages 11, 5, and 4. My husband and I, we live in northern New Jersey, Montclair specifically, where we moved to raise our family next to family. And to do that very thing has just become getting harder faster. And we're seeing it everywhere, from rising grocery costs to healthcare costs to energy costs. It frankly just shouldn't be as hard. And I'm not unfamiliar with hard. My mom, she had 4 babies by the time she was 20 years old. And I grew up and was born in a moment where, and in an old railroad town, by the time I came along, all the good jobs were gone. And I grew up, really understanding what it means to be part of that working poor, and with a lot of the struggle and the pain and sometimes shame of that. And my mom, incredible woman, she worked really, really hard, often by herself to raise us on a waitress's tips. But we needed food stamps, we needed public housing, we needed Medicaid, programs that this administration does not give a dang about. And when they're cutting these programs and putting them at risk, that's personal to me. My mom had this incredible way, as strong, resilient women do, of creating generosity in times of our scarcity, because as she would say, kindness can be free and doesn't cost us a thing. And so there was a thing that she used to do with us kiddos, and we were high energy kiddos. She would do it with all of us together. We would probably be diagnosed as ADHD today. She would have us do a good deed of the day. So sometimes that was her giving a last dollar away to someone more in need. Sometimes it was us. She would have us go to our next door neighbor and help them with some errands. Would we complain? We, of course, because we're kids. But my favorite part about growing up in her home was that we were always a home that had a lot of kids at it, because we were the safe place to be. And just thinking about, I've been watching the show for the past 45 minutes or so, just thinking about some of that community you all were talking about just reminds me a bit of some of that upbringing. So I knew from a very young age that if I had a chance to better my circumstances, I was the first person in my immediate family to go to college, I was going to pay it forward in as big of an impactful way as possible. And that's what I've been doing my whole career. My first, more impact job out of college, that wasn't tossing pizzas or waiting tables or building furniture or telemarketing, because I did all the jobs to get by in college. I was a campaign manager for a first-time candidate in Washington State who went on to pass marriage equality in that state, and is now the Senate Majority Leader there. I then went on to help elect our first Black president, Barack Obama. I was in Chicago to help do that, and then was invited into his White House. Well, I helped modernize government and fought to pass the ACA. I've also worked in human rights, both internationally and here at home, including working on fighting for a pathway to citizenship for mixed status families and for the formerly incarcerated during the first Trump term. And most recently, I've been running a clean energy nonprofit that helps low-income Americans save money on their energy bills, which here in New Jersey happens to be a pretty big issue. And I would happily be doing that today. It was not on my bingo card to be running for office. But the Trump administration, about 20 some days into office, they attacked my nonprofit. They froze our bank accounts. They subpoenaed us. I was personally named on the Senate floor as being part of a clean energy conspiracy theory, all because we worked in clean energy. And here, what we were doing was leveraging public investment, private capital, working with businesses and local community groups to be able to make clean energy affordable for all of America's families. And just clean energy.
Can you elaborate more on that in terms of, like, there are two things that you said to elaborate more on. You said that you helped Obama with the ACA. Can you just let our viewers know what the ACA is? Because you just glossed past that. And it might be important to talk about that. And then let's jump right back to the the current controversy with the nonprofit, because I think that speaks to a trend of things that were happening as well. So let's just jump back to the ACA. What is that? What did you help do? And how did you work to get that passed through Congress?
So I was part of the Obama administration in the very earliest days when we had an opportunity to pass some pretty big transformational legislation. And I was on the team when we also passed the Recovery Act, and then we went straight to what can we do to help reform and improve our healthcare system in America. And that what later became the Affordable Care Act. And it has been a cornerstone and a big flagship victory of that administration that we're fighting for today, to make sure that we are improving upon it so that we can make healthcare affordable in this country. It's part of the reason that we're having the fight around the shutdown, so that the subsidies that were expiring to make the Affordable Care Act affordable for families aren't going to expire. And we need to continue to be fighting for those things to improve upon that landmark legislation. So I was a part of the team that was helping to communicate that, build support for that, and fight for that when I was in the White House.
And you're talking about right now with the attack on your nonprofit. What did they just take away funding? Were they accusing you of anything? Like, what were the ramifications of being named on the legislative floor in Washington, D.C. on that?
Sure. So we were part of a coalition of clean energy groups that were recipient of greenhouse gas reduction funds. Those funds were part of the Biden administration, part of their clean energy packages that they got passed when they were in office. And my organization at the time, Rewiring America, we applied for those funds with 4 other groups, including United Way and Habitat for Humanity, and some other housing groups like LISC and Enterprise, to be a recipient of those funds so that we could bring clean energy to communities across America. We won our application and we won an award, and we're doing that work and doing kickstarting a lot of those projects. But when the Trump administration came in, that program and that project, they identified as immediately an area where they wanted to stop that funding. But we had already received those funds in a bank account outside of government, and we're doing the work to perform and deliver on on what we had been asked to do in that agreement with the government. And so it was an extremely destabilizing time. Many clean energy groups were impacted by that. And really, the most frustrating part of this is we are in a moment where people are seeing their energy bills skyrocket. They're not using more energy. They are seeing the cost of their energy bill skyrocket because energy supply and demand are not meeting where they need to be. And the number one way that you can reduce demand and increase supply quickly to have an impact for consumers in their pocketbooks is scaling clean energy. It is bonkers to me that is what they initially did in their first few weeks of administration, among many other programs across state, across what they're doing at the Department of Education. This administration is about destruction, and it's perpetuating a politics of pain and cruelty that we are done with. And one of the most important things we can do right now is make sure that we are positioning ourselves so that we can take back the House in 2026, so that we have an arm of the federal government that can stand up and fight like heck to hold this administration and everyone in it accountable for what is happening and to stop it. And
so what you bring up is just how contentious Congress is right now. You're running to go to a place where many people are like, nothing can get done. And even if you did control one arm of the government, what could be done? There's a great deal of frustration among Democrats about what type of leaders they're going to be. If you have to describe what type of congressman person you'd be, would you be more in line with AOC, Bernie Sanders, or Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer? Like like if there is a side to the Democratic Party,
and let us not forget Jasmine Crockett.
Right. Like, how do you see it? Where do you see it?
Look, I am a mom of 3 kids. I'm not a politician. I am running to fight like heck. And I will tell you, if there's one thing we can all agree on, regardless of factions in the Democratic Party and all parties, is that if you want something done, you give it to a busy mom, because we find a way. I don't fit into any molds. I know what my progressive values are, and I've been fighting for them my whole career. And that is what I will go and do, often in both my family life and in the nonprofits and the organizations that I've built and run. I'm the glue. I am the person that finds a way to bring people together to go and deliver on a big thing. And I've been doing that my whole career. I helped get the Inflation Reduction Act passed with Rewiring America. I helped work on getting the ACA passed. I helped work on making sure that we had the leaders in place to achieve marriage equality. I've been doing these fights at like every stage of my career. Like during the first Trump term, I ran right towards the fire and working on with immigrant rights organizations and fighting for a pathway to citizenship for mixed status families. I run to where the fire is, because that is where we can drive the most impact, and I can be the most helpful. And that's what my mom taught me to do. My mom, who spent a part of her youth right here in Passaic County, and I want to continue that fight.
And probably more specifically, a part of the conversation and a part of the fight is where people get their money from in Congress. They're in Congress. There's a lot of money, and people accuse a lot of that money of being very influential. Would you take money from are there certain interest groups that you would not take money from? Are there certain donors who you would not take money from? Where would you fund your reelection campaigns? How important is that issue to you?
Where do you draw the line? Great question.
So I came out, I think I'm the first candidate to do this, coming out with a set of policy planks on anti-corruption. I did that within, I think, the first week of Mikie winning, and made very clear that corruption is one of the reasons why we can't have nice things. Because this is something that I think impacts both parties, and we are experiencing the most corrupt administration probably in our history, and certainly recent history.
And I'm not talking about things that look shady. I'm talking about the legal money that politicians and Congress people get all the time. It is not a question of the blatant corruption that we see under the Trump administration in terms of him cutting side deals that he has businesses in. I'm asking a question that's much more fundamental to the Democratic politics, the Citizens United decision, the amount of billionaires who give money to the Democratic Party, very specifically, right? Like, this is a question within the Democratic Party about where the Democratic Party gets money from, where it should get money from, what organizations should be like, nah, I'm not taking money there. On a Democratic side, with Trump out of the picture, Democrats still had a problem with where money comes from. What is your stance on that?
So I have said, and I'm calling on all Democrats to do this, we should not be accepting any corporate PAC money. People need to know when you are elected who you are fighting for, and it needs to be for working people. Full stop.
Cammie, one of our audience members asked, where do you stand at on school choice? And in your opinion, is this administration still funding education?
Great question. So my kids are in the Montclair Public Schools. If you are a Montclair parent right now, you are stressed out of your mind because we are $19.6 million short in our budget this year. And there is a special election on December 9th to decide on a school referendum of how we're going to fill that gap. And look, I have special needs kids. They're on IEPs in our public schools. I have been I have felt so held and supported in my Montclair public schools by my teachers and support staff and special education teachers so that my kids can get the unique learning that they need. And like seeing like this, being faced with this choice and this experience, I'm a parent that's going to do whatever it takes to invest in my kids. And at the same time, I'm seeing things at the Department of Education level where a couple weeks ago, they eliminated the special education programs entirely. And then just recently, they're doing this massive, we just read recently, they're in this massive downsizing entirely of Department of Education. This is where you have a federal resource that is meant to be there to, help families be able to navigate the unique learning that exists in this modern era. We are learning more and more about how our young minds are evolving and the very many shapes of that, and need advocates that are going to help support us nationwide on how we can best do that. We're going to take that away. We lose an advocate. We lose federal resources. At the same time, we are struggling locally to find the resources that we need to make sure that our kids are getting the best education that they need. So it is just another example of where it is getting harder, faster. And we need to be rejecting this status quo because it's not working.
And on school choice?
I am open to where folks need to be on that based on my own experience with having special needs kids and them needing folks needing options for how they can best support their kids.
So are there any, I know we're getting toward the end of this this particular segment, but does anyone have any questions? Like Don Haynes, do you have questions? Do you have questions? Donna, do you have questions that you'd want to ask?
Let me ask this.
It's the Congressional 11th. I think it covers Montclair and a part of Essex, and there are a few other municipalities around, just for context.
Cammie, I hear you on so many levels, and I appreciate you coming on. There's a question that's in the air in a lot of our communities, and thankfully it didn't play out in the way that this anxiety that I'm talking about reflects. It's one thing to be against what Trump and that whole MAGA movement is bringing into our lives that is harm, right? But it's another thing to be able to articulate and catch the imagination, energy, and hearts and minds of people of what actually for that is fundamentally different. Do you find yourself in your door knocking and in your overall message, you think you're able to do that, and all the forces who want to halt the advance of the harm that's coming from the right wing, you think you've been able to do that?
Sorry, there's a comment that just popped up as you were talking that distracted me for a moment.
Go back to the comment.
Can you just repeat that last part? Just
no, there's this. one of the ways that the Democratic Party has been criticized, and I'll try and shorten it this way, is that the overall tendency in response to all of the harm that is coming from Trump and the MAGA movement is to just accent the harm and the wrong that they're doing, as opposed to having a message that reflects what you're actually for, that is fundamentally different from the harm that they bring. And I'm enthused about what that young man across the water did, Zoran Mamdani. I unapologetically supported that personally, right? And I'm hearing the affordability message being carried out through other ranks, but he really took it to another stage. What are your thoughts on that in terms of tactics and strategy and methods?
So, thank you, and thank you for reframing for me. So, what I really liked about that campaign, and it's something that I've done in my own work, and what like you would do in like leading like advocacy organizations. You say what you're going to go get done, and then you fight like heck to try to go and do that. And I think we are all hungry for like saying like the world that we want to be in, and saying what we like, the world that we deserve, and just saying that out loud and fighting like heck for it. And that's one of the things that I think people should be doing when you're campaigning. Because when you're campaigning, it is a time of big ideas, bold vision, and recruiting and getting people excited about that. And then that gives you the mandate, the excitement, enthusiasm to go like at your like highest negotiating like points of leverage and go try to get that done. And I think Mamdani was well served in naming the specific things that he was going to go do. And look, I think I think there's been a lot of talk about what like how is that going to happen? But he's starting from a place of a vision that people are bought into. I have several policy platforms that I will be sharing on this over the course of this campaign that hope to do something very similar of saying what we are going to try to do and building support around that. Because in this moment, you're right. It's not enough to just be post-Trump. People are hungry for something more, because what we have right now isn't and hasn't been working for some time. Look, I'm going to date myself here. I'm an elder millennial. I was 19 when the Twin Towers fell. I saw us go into an unnecessary war in Iraq. I saw a housing crisis, a recession, 2 Trump terms, and a pandemic, and the fall of Roe. I have never had an opportunity to catch my breath, and I'm like many in this district and across the country that are just waiting for there to be a moment where we can catch our breath and actually be building something that we can give to our kids, but we're still trying to scrape by. And until we get to a place that we're able to actually deliver and make our government serve the realities that we are facing today, we are continue to miss the mark, and our party is going to continue to miss the mark. And I think that is what the choice is in this race, is either we are going to say what we're going to go and strive to be in this moment, or we're going to do more of the same. And guess what the definition of insanity is? Doing more of the same and expecting a better result. We will continue to lose. We all know what it felt like to win a couple weeks ago. And then we knew what it felt like to feel like we were losing again when Dems caved. But we all know what it felt like that we were like to win and to feel like we weren't alone in what we were striving to do. And I want to make sure that we're winning and we're delivering. And that's what I've been doing my whole career.
Dawn, did you have a question? Dawn, because I saw you start. Did you have a question, Dawn?
I do. So I'm excited about this Congress race because as we see, our Congresswoman, LaMonica McIver, is a fighter, hands down. She's unapologetically doing what she knows we voted her in to do, which was fight against any level of oppression coming from any direction. But specifically, how do you foresee you supporting the agenda of women within Essex County, specifically those that fall below the poverty line. You mentioned Essex County. We are our income gap, right, from one township to the next is huge, and so it affects us differently. How do you see yourself pushing things towards supporting us in a real way?
I love that question. And it's so interesting, like the divide in the county itself. So, and this comes back to being an unlikely candidate for Congress, but just being in a moment where, you know, I like take the mantra from my Obama organizing days when he used to say, if not you, then who, and stepping up in a moment where we need courage and leaders that don't look like and have the experience of different experiences than those who are already there. One of the things that I've done in my career is to know when it is about me lifting others up and about making sure that I am creating that space where others who are a better voice and a better messenger and have the perspective that isn't being viewed or seen or given the right outlet, that I am doing that. And I'm helping to create that space and helping to educate and do that with those around me. And so I think in this specific example, I would do exactly that, and make sure I am leveraging the platform that is running for Congress and a platform that is being a Congresswoman and creating spaces and lifting up others where their leadership should really be shining. And they are the best educators and messengers of a particular topic or area.
One more question, because we both are women of a certain age. All those analogies, I was like, "Oh, sis, not too much on us." That was they can remember all of those things in one shot. We see the long-term effects of COVID, right? We see the push for the vaccinations, and we did some lobbying against removing religious exemptions. Where do you fall in it as a mom?
Removing religious exemptions.
Mm-hmm.
I get very nervous and not for folks not I get very nervous when kids are and families are seeing misinformation about vaccinations and are too afraid to be able to vaccinate their children and what that might mean for a public health epidemic. And the lack of leadership, frankly, that we are seeing at HHS right now, and the lack of information and what has the undercutting of our public health system, it makes me very nervous about a brave new world that we are entering into, where we will be some of the benefits of modern medicine that we will be less likely to embrace.
Well, Cammie, thank you for coming, and we really appreciate you stopping by. And you said February 5th is the special election?
Thursday, February 5th. It's a Thursday.
Okay.
And that's just a primary, right? Like, that's not the
That's
is that
the
just
actual
the
election?
primary election?
That is that's the special election primary.
To fill the unexpired term.
Yes.
So only Democrats will be running in that particular, like there'll be a Democratic primary and a Republican primary then.
Yes, at that time. And then the general special primary is in April.
April 6th.
Okay.
All
All right. So just leave us with one more. Just leave us with the last thing that you want to say. Plus, the question that we always ask: who's your favorite hip hop artist, individual or group? And with that, you can also include your final message.
So I grew up at a time in the early 90s in a small town, Pennsylvania, when hip hop was going mainstream, pop culture. I have an Irish twin. I have an older brother who's just 10 and a half months older than me. He is a drummer and a big influence on me. His name is Chris Kroft. So crisscross will make you jump was a thing that he very much capitalized on. But I grew up, with Biggie and Tupac and the, East West Divide. But I will have to say my favorite is Bone Thugs and Harmony, Crossroads.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
And your last word, and Tammy, can you tell us what town in Pennsylvania or what little town in Pennsylvania?
Altoona?
Altoona? Okay. All right. What's the
Penn
last
State.
message? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the last message that you want our listeners, and this will play on and on, so please give us that last message that you want to last on.
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm Cammie Kroft. I am running to be your next congressperson in New Jersey's 11th district. I'm a mom, I'm a fighter, and I will make sure that I go to Congress to fight for working families like you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Cammie.
Thank you.
Thank you all for having me on. I appreciate
And
it.
don't wait for us to call you. If you need us to hear something, give us a call.
Especially if you win. This is the platform where we really make this mic available for the workers.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I gotta go get some signatures.
Take care of the gag. Go ahead and take care.
10 days.
Signature, keep it, make
Take
it
care.
happen. Okay.
Good luck.
All right. Thank you all. And thank you again for creating the space. I appreciate it.
Take care. All right, cool. So I think this was like in the middle of a conversation that it jumped in. And of course, I wasn't here for the first part of the conversation, and I'm probably going to jump off in the next 10 to 15 minutes. But hey, so what I know that you were probably in the middle of talking about what happened in the South Ward and violence in general, right? Like in terms of what's going on. So you can, I know that conversation was like right in the middle, and you all were heating up.
It was
and
raw.
So
It was raw and it was real.
And Dawn, before you came on, I know you had were instrumental as Raz did the Million Man. You were working with doing the women's meeting, not the Million Man, the men's meeting. You were working with the women's meeting, and Ed was bringing up a suggestion of doing a mother and sons meeting. To
I did catch that.
Okay, so what are your thoughts on that? And
So, Bismillah, the women's meetings, we had just had one this past Monday, and we reconvened them because ultimately we know the necessity of them, and we know how important it is. So the men's meeting have been rocking and rolling for a while, and Lady Baraka, First Lady Baraka, and Reverend Roundtree and Congresswoman McIver have been working towards doing the women's meetings. And so when we reconvened them, this is the second month, is really tailored towards specific goals for us as women. So we start off with mindful meditation. This last meeting, we had Ms. Ty Cooper on. We had a procurement specialist on from Essex County College. There was the month before that, Miss Dina, I can't remember her last name. Please forgive me, Dina, if you see this, who owns IHOP and Cornbread. Please support her businesses. And we talked really in depth.
Businesswoman.
Right. A legitimate businesswoman from the city of Newark that is doing her numbers based on being faithful to God and faithful to her mission in this time. And we are grateful that they were able to give us their time to tell us and dedicate to what they're doing and how they can help.
Adina Bayo,
that they can assist with any woman who's there for those type of services that need the guidance, the direction, the mentorship. And it's really important, right? So that's the women's meeting. We have family meetings quarterly. And so that mom and son meeting, I think that is most certainly something that if the Newark Anti-Violence Coalition can't support it being hosted, the Office of Violence Prevention, because we do have a focused deterrence list, and those are the students or the young people 24 and under that we know need that extra support. And so when you have those one-on-ones with those parents, and not as a social worker, not as a activist per se, but as a community person who wants to see something done and helpful to those parents, specifically mothers who don't have that extra support that they need, and hearing how they're trying to navigate through the justice system if their children have been incarcerated, or dealing with the pushback from the educational system if they were incarcerated and need to get back in school, and they're giving them laptops for virtual learning, but that's not their style of learning, or if they have an IEP, like just the different nuances that happen with our students and their mothers and their families in our community, and seeing how it all works in a dysfunctional way. If I'm to be completely honest, I believe that the family meeting or the mom and son meetings are important. We have father and son Sundays, which I thought was really cute because the name play through OVP, and we have healing circles at the New Ron Rice Center. And there are ways for us to build our community. So if you have parents, if there is a mother listening to this and you need some support and you need some help, and your son may be in cars, and he may be a gang member, we don't judge any of that. That's not my job to judge. My job is to help redirect him. And there's a host of people that work with me with the Office of Violence Prevention and Trauma Recovery that support that. And that family meeting, I would love for it to be well attended with the same students. It's about participation and making people feel comfortable and welcomed, because it's no different than parent participation in PTOs or at the schools. You know, there's a lack of it for whatever the reason is. I'm sure there's a million reasons why there isn't what we would like to see. But I do believe that it's not impossible. I believe with the right support and motivation that it can happen in a real way that will help. That's a rocking idea. To make people feel comfortable.
Since you've been doing this for this long, do you have a story about a parent bringing a child and their child is in this type of environment and they've been redirected and where they are now? So a parent can see what that looks like just from a story that you've had experience to witness?
Oh, absolutely. So, okay, said kid. Let me make sure I got all the details. There'll be a lot of stuff going on. A pro story. So a congratulatory story. So we had one young man who had gotten into some trouble at school, enough for him to have gotten expelled. But nobody cared about the why he did what he did. So when he was when the police was called and he was arrested for what was, you know, rightfully so, when we got to the bottom of it, you can't just throw a child away. The purpose of him having the weapon on him, because most of the children that we deal with either have gun charges or receiving stolen property, which is usually vehicles, and things along that line. And so when we look at the why he was doing it, was because he was fearful of his life. And I don't think that the people who make these huge decisions on what's considered safety transfer necessary or what's considered this, they look at some of those specific ills of our community. So fast forward, mom advocated with guidance and direction. She was able to not only get her baby back in school, he graduated, and thanks to the Office of Violence Prevention and Trauma Recovery, he was in a program that allowed him to get tuition paid for him to go to college. And now that baby is a freshman in college. So we get to see success stories happening in a real way. Like, we don't talk about the guaranteed education program that Director Wingfield Hill took by the horns and made it happen, where we was able to bring 40 students to St. Elizabeth College, paying all 4 years of their education. Now we have 2 universities supporting us, because Rutgers is doing it, has done it last year and this year as well. So when we look at like where our success stories come at, it looks like crime was down in the summer this summer, because we had those kids that were classified as our highest risk children in a program with us for the summer. So those hours that they would have been outside doing stuff that we all know that they shouldn't be doing, they were able to hear and be and do something different. So for me, the success may look like, oh, we got 5 of those kids back in school, or this kid got his driver's license, because we had one of our brothers from brother Gary. He has a program where he helped the kids get their driver's license, take them to do the permit test. He let them use his car to train, like to practice driving. So they're doing all of the official rules and regulations the proper way. And when we look at just how those stories, they don't always get highlighted, but it warms my heart for a mother to text me and say, Dawn, thank you, I'm thinking about you. I have another success story. Her son was a victim of gun violence. He wasn't in school for an entire year because he was put out of our charter school network, and for whatever the discrepancy was, they wouldn't let him into the public school network an entire year, and then he was shot in front of the school. How ironic is that, right? This mom was trying tirelessly to get her baby back in school. Thank God we have alternative education through our city with Newark Street Academy and Leaders for Life. Leaders for Life is ran by Dr. White, and Newark Street Academy is ran by Sakina Cotton and Ramed Brown. And we were able to get him back in school. And so that attests to those successes that sometimes we don't get to say, oh, that kid is in school, or we have another kid that you couldn't tell people that he wasn't going to do something different. And he's doing something different. He winds up getting married. He's expecting his first baby. He's working. I think the baby was born. And so all of this is happening where we can say we see successes in our community from a list of kids that people said weren't going to make it this year. And so when we do have kids that's on a list and we intentionally target them, I ain't saying we saving everybody, but crime is down in Newark and we can give police their kudos. However, we understand that the grassroots organizations and Mayor Baraka's leadership and the direction coming from the Newark Office of Violence Prevention and Trauma Recovery and the partners that's with the Brick City Peace Collective, we have success stories. We do.
When you said Kalisha, I'm sorry, Jonathan. I immediately thought of Principal Kafele because when she was in high school, Principal Kafele was her principal. And I don't know if everybody's seen the announcement, but Principal Kafele was recently elected as the president for the National Alliance of Black School Educators.
Yes.
So I'm thinking, so you have another part. You had that partner, if you don't know, in the NABSC. But I also think of Brother Bashir talking about the masjid on Chancellor and Wainwright, and when the imam was on a couple of weeks ago, when he was talking about the loss of the imam and the work that they were going to do going forward. They just started a substance abuse program. And everybody's welcome. It's just not for Muslims, but they also, so everybody's welcome. And how he told us a story of how, the elders in the neighborhood walked in and was like, we want to know what's going on. And he was like, come on, sit down, mamas, and talk. And, so even to the community program that's going on, knowing that in different areas of the community, you have all of these different resources for people to walk into doors and ask for help. So I just wanted to shout those out as, new partners that you may have.
Yes, ma'am. And so one of the things that the Office of Violence Prevention was able to do was create safe spaces for even safe surrenders, right? So our thing is minimizing trauma, right? We talk about OVP. The TR is what matters to me a lot. Mm-hmm. Trauma recovery. And so with the support, like if you have religious institutions that don't mind having that relationship with the city, because don't nobody want the police to kick down somebody's door or break their car window and drag them out of the car or any of those things when they're trying to apprehend somebody. And so the relationship that we were building is building with the Newark Public Safety, the police department, that looks like finding safe spaces where we can have those interactions where we don't want it to escalate.
Right.
And places like the masjid on Lyons Avenue and the masjid that's on South Orange Avenue. We also have Reverend Slaughter. His church was a part of our safe surrender program. And so this is a plea or a request from anyone that's listening. If you have a religious institution, because one thing for sure, we gonna pray. We gonna pray. We gonna pray. You pray in Jesus' name. That's between you and the good Lord. If I pray into a lost and found island, then that's between me and the good Lord. But what we have to do is keep prayer at the center because we're in a spiritual war. So we're asking for places of spirituality to be safe spaces. If in the event we do have to call you morning, noon, or night, hey, we have a safe surrender. We got the same grace that they gave to the mass shooter. We're gonna get the same grace to our people so that his mother don't have to worry about them kicking her door in at 3 o'clock in the morning to take her son for a warrant or whatever the case is. Those are real things that we that because we took it into consideration and we took it as serious as it is, we've been able to put things in place. And I'm grateful. Needless to say.
Jonathan, were you about to say something?
Just to comment on what you said before, and I thought that was really good when you were talking about, because I think it's something that's underestimated. You can actually identify people who are going to have difficulties beforehand and make interventions beforehand. How do you identify kids who are in trouble who may, like, how does that work in terms of kids who may end up committing acts of violence out of anger or frustration or lack of support? How does that identification happen early so that interventions can take place? And I ask that question because I think that's probably the most important thing in terms of a consideration of how do you find out how to reduce trauma and violence before it happens? How do you identify those things early?
Data, and relationships. So one thing that I most certainly appreciate is the relationships that I was able to build while I was on the Board of Education or just being a community member. You'll be surprised the phone calls that we get. But we look for high risk. So if a young person was arrested more than twice, the first time station house adjustment may have happened, the second time, and what your charges are, oh yeah, you're gonna get a visit. You most certainly can have a phone call or a pop-up in pairs. So if I'm trying to get one kid and I can't get to him because of the influences around him, so now I need all of y'all. So now all y'all have to know who Sister Dawn is from the Office of Violence Prevention and how or what she can help you with, because those are important factors. So when we have like maybe just not moderate risk, but because all of us that live in an urban area, we one decision away from being high risk or at risk. So our at-risk population, we have 48 partners with the Brick City Peace Collective, and some of them do mentoring specifically. Some of them do continuous education. Some of them do counseling, therapeutic services. And so when we get referrals, if my office focus deterrence don't take it, we gonna refer them to somebody. We're gonna do soft handoffs, and our compliance team with the Office of Violence Prevention make sure that our partners is doing what is expected according to Mayor Baraka's mission. And I hope that answered your question, because yeah, once we figure out the who, a principal can call me, Dawn, I need you to come. I need your team to come in. Great example, one of our charter school friends, we got an email about it. They let our group come in. They have full-fledged mediations. They keep fighting. Why are y'all fighting? Okay, no problem. Let me call who you consider your big homie and see what we could do. See how come you can't come to school to do what you're supposed to do. And that matters. Safe passage. If they see a situation in safe passage and they see that this kid needs a little bit more, they'll send them down to our office. Okay, how can we help? Mentors, go check on them in school. Like, do above and beyond. Do the things that you wish somebody would have done for you. Or your friend who you watch go through down the wrong path. Or your friend is missing a parent. What can we do? Like, some of our kids, you couldn't be in a part of one of our programs unless you had a parent that has been incarcerated or is currently incarcerated. And that spoke to reaching that demographic of the residuals of mass incarceration. And so we're super intentional at the Office of Violence Prevention.
Okay. So, I mean, and that really is the thing that has to be written about, has to be talked about a lot more, because there's a lot of work that you do that nobody really knows about, right? Like, there's a lot of work that you do that is the hardest work to do and it's about and what you're saying is it's about communication.
Jonathan, that's important too. That's important. That's community engagement. That's communications. That's the jobs that I want me and Bashir to have in this, because that's what we do, you know. And those stories, those success stories, need to be amplified, because I think Teresa Jones said it early in feeding the chat and the conversation. That's what gives young people or people that are on edge hope that they did not have prior to their situation.
Yeah.
And while we're here, go ahead.
I was going to say, and especially why I hear Baltimore mentioned in terms of violence reduction on all these popular news programs. I hear Chicago mentioned more, right? Like, so when people talk about violence reduction and reductions in crime, and Newark was doing it with, before, during, all of those places and getting lower rates. And Newark somehow does not get put in that conversation, when I think the work
that's what they be hating on our mayor, Jonathan. That's what they be hating on, Raz. I'm convinced. That's what they be hating on.
They're being intentional, yeah.
And not to mention, those same organizations come here for like Cities United organization. They come here and learn from us, and we go there sometimes and teach them. Like, this it really is amazing how intentionally they decide to minimize what Newark has done with decreasing homicides in our city. The lowest it's ever been in like the last 50 years.
That's right. Early 19.
And we're watching it in real time. And so when we go, when we're invited to these places, some of my coworkers just came from, I want to say, Kentucky. And just the love that they show for the city of Newark and how they model our entire system. And it's with gratitude, like, yo, to see it. We were in not LA, Louisiana, and we were able to hear them say, like, no, now we have a peace collective as well, and this is what we do, and this is how we followed y'all when y'all did the ciphers on the corner, and we did something like that, and this is what. So to know that people are not just seeing, they're watching us, they're seeing us, like seeing the work that is being done, and any level of oppression that is being removed from Black people. That's all that I could ever ask God for, is whatever it is that He have me doing in this life right now, that I'm doing it to please Him and Him alone. Because that's what we want.
Let me ask you something, Dawn. It's about somebody that most of us knew very well. And I never got a chance to work for him. I feel cheated. Death cheated me, right? But he's a serious comrade. You mentioned high risk intervention. And at the top of the show, I mentioned the recent loss of Akil Bashir. Right?
Baba, you want me to start crying?
That's no, baby. I want you just to tell the truth about one of your teachers, right? Right? Akil Bashir joined the party at 15 years old and been the daddy of the training, the professionalizing of what we call high risk intervention, of our credible messages, for all of their bravura about who they were and they rep. Even all of them needed to be trained in this and how this thing is supposed to go, to not just, have an impact on the work, but keep your behind alive in this work, because that level of the work is indeed very dangerous.
Yes,
we don't appreciate that. What would say something for in the few minutes that we got left about Akil Bashir and who we lost in that good brother. I loved him dearly, but we never got to work together.
The very fact that I'm able to even say that I was in the room learning from him is an attest to this work. Like, to be able to say I called him commander, that he, like, just to be in that space with him when we went to California to do this cross training, the amount of humility that man had, and the insight, and not just minimizing it to California. He wrote a book, Peace in the Hood, and
yes,
like we joked about it, like, don't nobody like use the terminology because it was California terminology. But the way that he was laying it out, even recently, and I'm sure Brother Damon Ali is going to go into details about how his strategic plan for us nationally was forming and coming in. And I pray that we still move forward with his life work, because it don't die with him. Commander was amazing, and he validated you in the space, and you knew that you was in the right space doing the right work because he just made sure that you felt that way. And when he came to Newark, it was worth it because you left out of there feeling more complete, more understanding of what you're doing. And so I look at the United States of America, right? So from the East Coast to the far West Coast, we are doing something that was put in that man's heart, that was put in his brain, and God seen it through for us to be able to have real tangible ways to work through this work that we're doing. In the book, it goes into details about how they in real time they were alleviating situations. And I'm like, oh, we could do that here in Newark based on real stories, real incidences.
Right.
But Brother Commander was the bomb. And I better not lose my book because I have one that was autographed to me, and I'm quick to give a book away.
Mine ain't autographed, right? But
I'm gonna bring that book home.
A good brother. I miss that comment.
You know what, Sister Dawn? I wanted to mention Kalisha again because you know, when all of this happened, I want to mention two things. When all of this happened this week and the mayor did his press conference, you seen Kalisha standing up.
That's
behind
right.
him. And what I wanted to say is, you know, Kalisha today, they buried her uncle. So I know that Keisha is very sensitive and talk because she does it a lot for herself, that self-help, self-care is very important.
Right.
So, you know, so one of the questions we always ask when you, what are you doing? What music are you listening to when you're doing this work? And I want to know, you know, when this happens, what are you doing? And Zaid talked about how dangerous it could be, but also, you know, as a mom, this is a hard thing. How are you, all of you guys, taking care of yourself when you're doing this work, when you have to respond, you take on the weight of the world, but you still have to, you know, do what you have to do. So what are you doing for self-care? All y'all.
Well, therapy is a must. I remember at one point, Mayor Baraka mandated it because it is a must. In addition to that, I have a house full of kids right now. That's why you keep seeing me look upwards, because I'm just hearing like, I'm like, I hope they don't hear this stuff down on the camera. And when I am able to give my children all that I have left, I don't give out so much of myself anymore. Because at one point I was like a chicken with my head cut off. I'm on the board. I'm managing this. I'm doing that. I'm still trying to be a mother. I'm pregnant. I'm going through postpartum depression. Like all of these different things. And so I've learned to stop, be calm, be thoughtful, be very extremely intentional. And lately I haven't been listening to music with words, just more so like either sound frequencies or like this neo soul type of no lyrics, just a vibe, just a vibe. And I am a healing circle, certified healing circle person right now, and doing that helps because you're releasing it and encouraging people to release it and praying over people. I don't know when it has become a taboo thing for us to pray over each other. I pray for Kalisha the same way I pray for Lakeisha, the same way I pray for the mayor, the same way I pray for the chief of staff, and the same way I pray for my family, because the devil is so busy right now.
Yes.
And we see it in real time where our integrity can't be compromised right now. Neither can our mental health. So I always offer for us to do wellness and mindful meditation. There you go, my fellow.
And the last thing I want you to know,
How
the
you doing, Sister Dawn?
The 60-year-old that got shot is somebody that I grew up with. And when I had that got shot, you know, with everybody else. And so when we noticed the names, we were able to reach out and say, hey, how you doing? And then one of the things I said, listen, the victim's compensation is something serious, and sometimes, especially us in our community, will walk right by that offering. So I hope many people understand the importance of listening to what they have to offer and tapping into what they have to offer as well.
You talking about Mr.
No matter
M?
if you, huh?
Mr. M?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I sat with him. He's a cool old man. Like I pray that he gets his
Look, you
full
my
usage
age.
of his
Stop calling people. Oh, you like cool old man.
He said in that day, like, yeah, I just like, sir,
and
you do realize.
Yeah, and you know what's scary? Because I said, is this, so we're in that age range. I said, have you ever been shot? And so his is the first time. And I was like, and you know that you're going to experience trauma different now. You're going to hear things and you're going to jump and things like that. So that was why I was like, so make sure you pay attention to what's offering. But to be 6 years old and to experience that's horrible, It's horrible
And the
for
extreme of
anybody,
that
but it's
is
horrible.
at 60, him experiencing that, and then the students and the children that were close to the children that suffered that act of violence, and then just standing with them in their healing.
Right.
And not being afraid to wipe their tears or being afraid to embrace them and exchanging that, baby, it's going to be okay energy with them.
Right.
But I appreciate y'all.
Yes, so
We
thank
appreciate
you.
I hope I did the service to
Don't
us
be
today.
so Sister Dawn, before you leave, what hip hop artist, individual group do you listen to when you do all that you do?
I am going to completely be honest with you, sis. I am going to still turn on Tupac. I am still going to I'm going to still rock with Pac.
Famous cub of the Black Panther Party.
All right. So when you're not listening to that neo soul, you're gonna throw on a little Tupac. Okay.
Just a little bit.
Okay. Well, thank you. You don't have to leave, but feel free, to hang around or do whatever. I know you're busy, so please don't be a stranger.
Thank y'all for having me, as always.
It was good to see you with Malcolm X.
Yes, sir. So hard to be a bulldog.
Is there something happening tomorrow that you wanted Bashir to announce? Is there something happening that they announced it? Okay, gotcha.
Yes. Meeting at
Okay.
Masjid Ibrahim. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thanks, sis.
Thank you.
Sister Dawn, write the book on the Newark experience. Because it was done on the West Coast, don't obviate the need for the East Coast history.
Write that book.
My elder have spoken.
Get with Annette Austin. Y'all get together and write the book.
My elder have spoken. Yes, sir.
Who said
I was Annette Austin?
Yeah.
Yes. Jonathan's sister. Yes.
That's
Jonathan's
right.
sister.
That Annette.
Got it.
No stranger.
We will follow up every 3 months on how you're doing.
All right, as we wind and move to this next session, got a lot coming up this weekend and the next several weeks. So no stranger to these airways is Adim Uchunga, Lawrence Hamm, the chair of the People's Organization for Progress. And for the first time on our show, his vice chair and radical Princeton alum,
would you stop with
Larry
that
Adams?
Stuff?
Yeah,
you got Larry and Larry.
Well, I'm gonna demo him so y'all don't get the Larrys confused. Things are coming up. Hot day tomorrow. Action at the Laney Hall.
We're gonna handle it chronologically.
Teaching against fascism coming up on the 13th in January. Dr. King's birthday is right around the corner. The next leg of the observations of Dr. King's birthday in a united front kind of way. And then this other guy just popped up named Steve Bernhart, who came up with this crazy ass radical idea, leaning on Adim Uchunga and that long march against police brutality, for us to walk over 100 miles from Mumia Abu Jamal. And ain't nobody punking out either. We getting it in, right? So we got a lot to talk about. Ademo, set the stage. What's coming up real quick right? And then we'll bring your two soldiers into the conversation along with you.
Well, what's coming up tomorrow is we're going down to Delaney Hall. And this audience knows a lot about Delaney Hall. It was where Mayor Baraka was arrested, and he had been accompanied by Congresswoman LaMonica MacGyver, Congresswoman Bonnie Watson Coleman, and Congressman Robert Menendez Jr. And they had come to do an oversight visit, which is their right to do as Congress people.
Yes.
And unfortunately, it led to the arrest of Mayor Baraka, and the ICE agents, you know, with the determination of wild hornets, caused a scuffle, and you know, people got roughed up. And just like in a regular police brutality incident, the victims end up getting charged.
Yeah.
You know, and they dropped the charges against Mayor Baraka. They were trying to put him on trial, but they have subsequently indicted Congresswoman LaMonica MacGyver on assault, resisting arrest, and interference. And so she is probably going to stand trial for this, and it's very unfortunate. So we're going back to Delaney Hall, and I have to say I need to salute the organizations that have been down there for months.
Regularly.
There are social justice and immigrants' rights organizations that have been there almost every day since Mayor Baraka was arrested on May the 9th. And they've been holding vigils. They've been doing mutual aid, providing resources and material to the families of the detainees inside Delaney Hall. And so Pop, you know, decided that we would go down there and join them on Saturday. Now, that's tomorrow, Saturday, November 22nd, 12 o'clock noon at Delaney Hall, which is 451 Doremus Avenue in Newark, New Jersey. And we hope people will come out with us. We'll be there. You know, we'll be there for a while, maybe from 12 to 3, maybe that long, maybe not. We'll have to see, because there's going to be inclement weather tomorrow. But we made our decision to go out there, and we're going to go out there and show our support and also condemn the racist, fascist policies of the Trump administration, which are wreaking havoc on the American population and on the world. I mean, I'm almost tempted to call him President Chaos, because that is his legacy. That is what he is doing. And, you know, ICE is now his personal army, his own Gestapo. They are brutalizing people and violating people's constitutional rights. They're kidnapping people off the streets. They're sending people to countries that are not countries of their origins. They're disappearing people. I mean, it's really wild what is going on in the United States today. So we're going to be out there raising those issues, raising the issue of immigrant rights and human rights, and also relating it to the issues of war, because they are related. You know, what is happening in Gaza is directly related to what is happening here in the United States. And I don't know if you saw the news, but the SS Gerald R. Ford has made its way. It's the largest battleship
in the world,
in the United States Navy, and it is now in the Caribbean, off the coast of Venezuela. A lot of ships and planes and troops have been moved into the Caribbean, and everybody is anticipating a war on Venezuela. And so we're going to be out there tomorrow. I think Brother Larry Adams told me earlier that tomorrow is also supposed to be a national day against war with Venezuela. So we're going to
That's right.
relate our activity around the issue of immigrant justice to the issue of opposing war in Venezuela. I mean, Trump also did some saber rattling about Nigeria. And I wonder why. Is it because Nigeria has huge oil reserves? You know, is the U.S. Navy off the coast of Venezuela because Venezuela has the largest known oil reserves in the world? So, you know, it's a very dangerous period that we're in. So everybody who can, please come and join us tomorrow.
And let's just Vice Chair, jump on in here and tell us about, because you're playing an important hand. And your chair just lifted up the question of the relationship of imperialism to this domestic terror, right? But let's talk about this thing called fascism, right? And this teaching that's going to happen on December 13th and why that's important, right? What are our touch points of urgency in appreciating the fascist dimensions of where we are in this particular moment, and why
just
we
summing up some of what Chairman Hamm talked about, and the linking of Delaney Hall with the Gerald Ford being in the Caribbean Sea off the coast of Venezuela is the day, the whole week, in fact, was the week of activities, and the day is a national day of protest called by the United National Anti-War Coalition, of which POP is a part. And the demand is raised, no war in Venezuela, and we add on Nigeria, no troops in the street. So that's recognition that U.S. imperialism is escalating the oppression at home and abroad. And it's escalating it by advancing fascist policies and militarization abroad and at home is the spearhead of that social process. So as Chairman Hamm pointed out, we need to raise up the links and raise up the demands to stop the concentration camp, keep our eyes on ICE, get them out of our territory, our area of operations in Newark, and constantly raise awareness of people of these linkages. Right. It is primarily Latino immigrant workers who are being attacked now, but the stage is being prepped for all of us to be attacked, either being provoked by these unwarranted troops on the ground, or having them. I mean, we saw the example in Chicago of them Black Hawk helicopter careening down onto apartment buildings, like they were in some overseas area of penetration. But so that's the fascist move, the examples of the fascist movement that are being developed in this country, being led by Donald Trump, following the playbook of Project 2025, which is attempting to push back all the social development since the Great Depression.
That's right.
This ain't no overnight action. Mm-hmm. This is the ruling class, with its most reactionary elements being the fascists of the capitalist class, developing the long game, the long con, to steal from the masses of people our treasure and our influence in society. So part of that process of raising the consciousness is that on December 13th, we're having a teach-in. POP has organized a teach-in that's entitled "The Disastrous Trump Dictatorship and Our Fight to Defeat the Fascist Regime." We're having 3 activist scholars come to share with us. Dr. Gloria J. Brown. What's that? Dr. Gloria J. Brown Marshall, Dr. Virginia Kay, and Dr. Kelly Harris. They're going to talk about various aspects of the process of fascistization and the history and aspects of how we can fight back. Because all that has been won since 200 chairmen went to D.C., since 200,000 Africans took up arms to defeat slavery, any social victories that have been achieved since then are being threatened. Democracy is on the chopping block, not just whether or not we vote, but whether or not what standing women have in our society, what standing oppressed nationalities have in our society. And so we're going down to Delaney Hall on Doremus Down Neck to declare our solidarity with the sisters and brothers who have been wrongly incarcerated, and to fight together for justice in this society, in the area in which we operate, to build a united front of fighting organizations so that POP will be uniting with those immigrants' rights organizations and point out that fight is our fight, is their fight is our fight.
Right on. Now, what time?
That's where we going. That's where we going tomorrow, rain or shine, because the oppression gonna breed resistance, and we gonna be in the front with that.
Now,
You said,
restate. Hold on, Donna. Restate the when and where of the teaching on
All
the
right.
13th.
We
December
gonna
13th.
caravan down from Newark City Hall. We ask people to come at 11. If you got a car, you get online. If you ain't got no car, you can ride with somebody else. We're gonna go down to 451 Doremus Avenue is where Delaney Hall is. I was out there yesterday, and it looks just like a prison. And the people are being treated horribly inside and outside. The families are being abused. So we're gonna denounce that inhumanity.
Come back,
and we'll be part of a national movement of resistance against the fascistization of our society.
Now on December 13th, the where and when.
December 13th will be at Bethany Baptist Church from 11 a.m. to 3:30.
Well, that's a good full teaching.
Yeah, we got it's gonna be in half, because we want to both learn from the knowledgeable folks who are scholar activists, and we were allowing like an hour and a half to 2 hours of question and answer, discussion and debate, and planning for how we're gonna organize the fight back. That teaching is part and parcel of the process that in January 19th, Martin Luther King Day, which way we recognize and celebrate Dr. King's contribution to our community and to society, is to have an action of protest, some kind of fight back. And so we will be organizing the Martin Luther King March for Resistance on the 19th. And so December 13th works up to that. November 22 leads up to December 13th. December 13th leads up to January 19th. And then in April, we'll have the second People's Convention at Essex County College, as we had this past April, to unite organizations, individuals, and formulate battle plans on how we will preserve what we have and fight back against the attackers.
Dima, take us a step back. I want to step back for a second. Then I want to bring Steve in. And Steve, I know you're having some net issues. So I definitely want to make sure we get you in this conversation. But this is a teaching platform, and we're always looking to grow our base, right? So in addition to the organizations that are part of the Martin Luther King Coalition, right? For those of our folks who are in this audience right now who don't know what the hell we're talking about, tell them very quickly just how this Martin Luther King anti-fascist centered coalition came together, some of the players, and how folks can get involved.
Well, I think this phase of it began with last year's Martin Luther King March for Justice and Resistance. POP has almost since we were founded in 1983 held marches on the birthdays of Dr. King and Malcolm X. So for this last march, we said we would do our maximum effort to reach out to other organizations. And to make a long story short, we got over 300 organizations to endorse the Martin Luther King March of Resistance that was held in January of 2024. And it ended up being the largest Dr. King march we had had to date. And so rather than just dissolve after the King March was over, we tried to hold people together, and we formed we held the coalition together, and we took up the project of a conference, which became the Martin Luther King People's Convention for Justice and Resistance. And out of the 305 organizations that had endorsed the march, 287 came back and endorsed the convention. And we came out of the convention with an agenda for social justice. And that agenda is going to be made public shortly. But at the Martin Luther King Convention, we passed 27 resolutions. And those 27 resolutions make up the agenda. And the agenda is a 68-page document. Those 27 resolutions comprise 68 pages. And we had to do some editing because it was a Democratic convention. And people made amendments from the floor, which necessitated that we had some editing work to do to make sure that all the amendments that people made would be included in the final document. So we're just about there. And I would say probably in the next couple of weeks, we will be having a press conference to announce the publication of the agenda, and that we're going to make that public. And that agenda covers most of the, I won't say all, but it certainly covers probably at least half of the major issues that affect our communities. And all of the resolutions and plans of action, because the resolutions weren't just resolution. Each resolution also had an action part to it. So all of them, are going to be worked on once we make this agenda public. And then, as you said, Larry Adams and Zaid, you pointed out, we are heading toward our second Martin Luther King March in January, and our second convention, which is slated for April 25th. And also next year is the year that we're planning a Million People's March against the Trump dictatorship, which is slated for October of 2026.
Steve, if you're welcome to All Politics Are Local for your first time coming on. And Steve, I want to commend you again for your imagination, and you're getting busy with making your imagination something tangible that we all getting ready to eat up the rubber in the road on, right? Tell everybody about this upcoming long march for Mumia Abu Jamal. What you got us doing, man? Come talk to us.
All right. Well, first of all, Zaid, you were complicit in this over the summer because driving back to the train station, we formulated this together. So don't blame it all on me.
Exposing.
We will we will be on the move starting November 28th on a 103-mile march for Mumia Abu Jamal from starting in Germantown, Philadelphia, and heading out to SCI Mahanoy in Frackville. The march will take place over 12 days. It's starting on Black Friday, so no reason to go shopping that day. Come join us. There's a lot of ways to participate, a lot of ways to volunteer. Obviously, if you can't take the 12 days off to march, you can march one day, part of days. Everything is up on the website, marchformumia.org, on the various ways to participate. And we're also have a loud shout out to get volunteers, because we need volunteers during the last week of the planning phase. We need volunteers during the march, and we need volunteers to continue getting the word out after the march, because this is a 40-year plus struggle, held up by a lot of our sisters, Pam Africa, Joanna Fernandez. Well, and it's Pam's birthday today.
I was
So
just
Oh, wow.
happy birthday wishing to
right
Pam.
on. I just
And
put it in the chat.
Dr. Susan Ross, Noel Hanrahan. There's a lot of people who've committed their lives to Mumia's freedom. So we can't stop now. But we need vehicle support. We need march security. We need help with marshals. If you have medical expertise, medical support, legal advisors, there's a lot of logistics between the food, beverage, lodging, support vehicles, media outreach. So we have a whole list of ways that people can get involved if they can't be in the area. You can share the messages. There's downloadable flyers on marchformumia.org. So you can share it on your social media sites to get the word out. And it's going to be a hell of a march.
So let me step back. Now,
But Mumia's, the urgency to do it over the winter is because the state's that's always been trying to kill Mumia. Okay, sorry.
No, you were going just where I wanted you to go. What are the issues? What is the urgency driving the march? And we should acknowledge that the date was chosen to converge on the anniversary of Mumia's ordeal that put him in captivity. Let everybody know why this march is important now.
Yeah, well, now is because of the medical neglect and the medical denial that they've known for several years that without proper treatment he will go blind, and they are putting up obstacles every step of the way. It's one step forward, two steps back to get him his treatments. So that's the urgency now. The exact timing was set so we would arrive at Frackville, SCI Mahanoy, on the anniversary of the day that the shooting occurred and Mumia was arrested and framed.
We are approaching 44 years of wrongful imprisonment of this great black man. 44 years on December 9th, right? And the medical condition that Steve is talking about is diabetic retinopathy, right? Several years back, Mumia's health was attacked through diabetes and cirrhosis of the liver, and then the delayed and the medical neglect that came from both of those battles. One of its effects is pressure on the vessels in the eyes that creates this issue that can actually lead to blindness. He was diagnosed with diabetic retinopathy better than 9 months ago, and the diagnosis said that it required immediate LASIK surgery to remove that pressure so he could see. Did it happen immediately? Absolutely not. We had to raise hell like we have done internationally for years, and even going to that prison itself to embarrass the state of Pennsylvania to let him get the beginning of that treatment. He needs that surgery on both of his eyes. So far, and that's after that 9-month gap when he was literally going physically blind. They only did one eye instead of doing them both or doing one and then the other. We gotta keep raising this hell to get that happens. And underneath that is how symptomatically this reflects how aging prisoners are treated in this country. The language of the Constitution, we will not allow cruel and unusual punishment, is a big white lie. Big white lie. When Mumia had Hep C, there was a proven medical regimen treatment that was very much available to him that would have really done far less harm and cured that treatment. But because they would have had to give it to everybody affected with Hep C in that prison system and in that community, they refused to do it. They refused to do it. And this is why Joanna Fernandez refers to the sickening of Mumia, right? Because this is done with intent, is done to create long-term dangerous, life-threatening medical conditions, and it is foul and absolutely wrong and inhumane, and we got to turn the volume up every step of the way. Now, Steve, tell some of the folks who are actually going to be in the mix in this walk. Who else is walking? Now, you know my big head is walking. Who else is walking? Who else?
Zahid Muhammad, Lawrence Hamm, Bro Shep, the Panther. He's going to walk all 12 days.
Yeah, right.
Cornell West is supposed to be there on the last day to meet us at the State Correction Facility. David Zyron, the sportscaster, and I think Ed would appreciate. So throughout the 12 days, we're having different press conferences at Burke County Courthouse in Reading. We're having one at Schuylkill County Courthouse in Pottsville with allied groups for prison abolition and recidivism programs. But we're also having a private tour of Muhammad Ali's Deer Lake training camp.
I've been there.
On Saturday, December 6th, which is just an incredible place if you've never seen it. So we're trying to mix it up with some evening programs with, again, community groups that are doing the same work. Brett Grody of the Abolition Law Center is going to do one evening. I'm sure Noel Hanrahan's walking the first 3 days and the last 3 days. So we're expecting the first day about 50 to 75 people, and the same on the last day, and maybe a dozen in between.
Stephen,
it's admittedly hard for a lot.
Have you had the opportunity to visit Mumia?
No.
No, I asked that. I don't, in New Jersey, in the recent year, I believe they created like a senior citizen wing in at least one of the prisons. I'm not sure all of the prisons in New Jersey, but I know at least one. Do they have any accommodation in where Mumia is for prisoners that are older?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
No, the answer.
But also to be clear, they know there's no chance of recidivism by the time you get to be 55 or 60. So any elder that's being held is by definition of elder abuse. There's no need for them to be held in prison. They could be taking that $70,000 a year or whatever they're spending and put it in the community that's been most affected by mass incarceration, whether it's for reentry programs or for youth at risk programs. It's just an insane system.
Let me lift up of some of the folks that you named, because they all have made valuable contributions to this work. Brother Shep is a comrade from the Black Panther Party, the New York chapter of the Black Panther Party, Shep McDaniel. And Shep has been key in spearheading the Free Kamal Siddiqui campaign. And Kamal Siddiqui is Assata Shakur's co-partner who was railroaded into prison in the state of Georgia because he refused to be complicit with the FBI's imposing on him to try and set up his co-partner to be captured by the state. Noel Hanrahan of Prison Radio has basically rescued and has institutionalized a place where his commentaries now live. Right, we needed that when those commentaries came under attack several years ago, and Prison Radio has become a very important resource for that. Cornel West, everybody knows Cornel West from a range of all the things that he's done, and most recently being a left candidate outside of the Republican Democratic Party paradigm that helped shake up that conversation in the last electoral cycle. Dave Zirin put a hell of an article together on Mumia in Rolling Stone. So coming out of the arena where we should see more. You mentioned Muhammad Ali's camp. Muhammad Ali was indeed the people's champ for what he did outside of the ring. Outside of the ring. He was a steady, firm voice in the peace movement and our larger struggle against oppression as a people. There should be more entertainers and athletes coming out for our political prisoners, and not mentioning this, and we will begin to wind this particular segment down here, is that we are trying to lift up the names of all of our political prisoners, and I've got to mention Imam Jamil Abdullah Al-Amin, the former H. Brown, who's medically been diagnosed to have perhaps 3 months left to live, and we are still trying to clear his name while he is in the land of the living. And that's a tall task given how violent and deeply entrenched the clutches all the racist and repressive state are. And it's not an accident, we say, of history that both Kamal Siddiqui and Imam Jamil were both were railroaded in the oversight of the same judge, while the racist South was claiming itself to be the new South, and that is Judge Stephanie Manning. So there's a lot of layers to this whole thing that's happening on from that long walk from November 28th to December 9th. Ademo, as we wind up this second, anything you want, I'm sure you want to give Steve a shout out in your own inimitable way for what he has done and what he has brought to all of our larger work, standing squarely on your shoulders. You muted.
Unmute, bro.
Yes, thank you, Steve, for all that you have done to make this March for Mumia a reality. You have spent many hours, many days putting this thing together. I remember when we had the long march to Trenton, what a project that was to try to plan out all the logistics and the stops and everything. That was only 67 miles. This march is 103 miles. That was I think we did 67 miles over 7 days. Now we're going to do 103 miles over 12 days. People don't know it. You could say it in a sentence, but it is a huge, huge task, and a lot has been involved. But I think your efforts are, I know that your efforts are going to yield very positive results. And I hear the announcement on WBAI in the New York metropolitan area. And now the announcement is being made on WPFW in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. So a lot of people are now aware that we're doing this. And I'm sure people are going to get involved. I also want to give out to Sister Dawn, a shout out to Sister Dawn Haynes, who I saw yesterday. I saw her yesterday at Malcolm X Shabazz High School, and I want to shout out the Malcolm X Shabazz Southside High School Alumni Association. And so after 53 years, they gave me an award for whatever role I played in the changing of the name of Southside High School, the Malcolm X Shabazz High School. And I have to chuckle because I was standing on the stage yesterday and I had like a flashback to when I was on the school board. It was 1972. I was 18. I was standing on the stage by myself. The auditorium was packed, and I was trying to speak to over 1,000 students who were being told by their teachers that they would not be able to get into high school because they had the name of Malcolm X on their high school diploma. And it was,
So you did that as a board member?
yes, I was on the school
Wow.
board in 19. Well, let me put it a different way. I helped to make it happen. The person responsible is the now retired educator, Akili Buchanan, Norman Akili Buchanan, who was a student at Southside High School from I think that would be from 1968 until he graduated in 1972. And on my my second year on the board, 72, he had started a petition drive at the high school to change the name to Malcolm X School. And he got about 1,000 signatures. Wow. And he and his comrades, his fellow high school students, he had a little cadre. They came down to the school board and they presented their petition, and they had the 1,000 signatures, and right there on the spot, I moved that we changed the name of Southside to Malcolm X Shabazz High School, and the whole board voted for it. It wasn't just me. I mean, I made the motion, but the whole board voted for it. And then the next day, all hell broke out. Wow. The renaming of the school became almost if not national and international controversy. People were editorializing about it on the major television stations, and it was something. It was a lot of pressure, and I have to say, I'll say it here. I didn't say it at the ceremony yesterday because it wouldn't have been appropriate. But for a minute, Mr. Buchanan's life was in danger.
Wow,
that's right.
Now he might not say it, but I remember what the situation was, and because people feel strongly about these things. You went to a school in Southside, that was like a historic. We talk about historically black colleges. That was a historically black high school, and it was a championship high school, basketball, football, track and field champions, and everybody was like Bulldogs, Southside Bulldogs. And then all of a sudden you wake up and the name of your school is now Malcolm X. And the funny part, Dawn, about yesterday was when I came into the room where the reception was, this sister was standing at the door. She greeted me and she said, "Yeah, I'm the person in your book who didn't like you changing the name of our school." She was like right there. She was there waiting for me. She said, "I'm the one in your book that was mad at you." She said, "Mad at you because you had changed the name of our high school."
Now, how does she feel about it? In retrospect, how does she feel about it?
Well, she was celebratory. It was an upbeat, it was a love-filled event yesterday. I wasn't the only one honored. There were a number of people who were honored. The football team was recognized. The marching band marched in the auditorium and was playing those favorite school songs. It was a very upbeat. Everybody was upbeat and loving. And they couldn't have given me the award unless it had been agreed upon by the Alumni Association, so everybody after 53 years, I guess people mellowed out,
Well, while we keep speaking, I just want I just want everybody to know that our DJ is in the background, so bring our DJ up. He's in the background. But go ahead,
Before
All
you
right.
let us off, I want to give a shout out of salute to the All Politics Are Local collective.
No, don't go anywhere. Our DJ has a question for you, so you can't go anywhere.
Okay.
I got no answer.
Yes, you do.
All right. I want to give a salute to the All Politics Are Local collective for speaking truth to power every week and giving a voice to our community. I salute y'all for doing a yeoman's job.
Thank you, comrade. And I want to sharpen that by saluting our founders, Mr. Ed Riley and Mr. Jonathan Alston, right? It was their imagination, their vision that put this together. Everybody that's on this air right now in terms of our collective, we're actually New Jacks. I took over for Bashi Akanyele, one of my soldiers who helped start this when he had to walk away, and that's just a few years ago. Donna just loved coming to the station.
DJ, and before and DJ, before Chairman and Steve and Vice Chair Larry Adams go, can you ask them that all important question?
Yeah, so y'all know this is a political hip hop show. We talk about activism, education, talk about politics, we talk about hip hop. Are there any hip hop artists, new or old, that you listen to that inspires you to do what it is that you do? Is there anybody in hip hop that connects with you when it comes down to doing what you do?
Is Sweet Honey in the Rock considered hip hop?
You don't ask a question like that, but y'all old heads.
The real old heads don't know no hip hop. I listen to the Delphonics and the Stylistics.
That's what I listen to.
And Smokey Robinson. But
well, that's interesting. Rhino.
That's kind
Rhino,
of
did anybody sample the Delphonics? Anybody? Has any hip hop artists?
Plenty of people have
there
sampled.
You go. There you go.
Philadelphia Soul. Right on, Larry. Right? Steve.
I do like Immortal Technique's message.
Nice.
Strong for Mumia in our political.
But while I was speaking, I just want to do one shout out because there have really been dozens of people who have been involved in this planning who've put their lives on hold to make this thing a reality. So it is a truly collaborative effort.
Right on all of that. We almost know who you're going to say, but we got to ask the question just in case somebody else come blow your mind.
Well, I'm going to surprise you. See? I'm going to say Amiri Baraka, Sr.
Ooh, all right. There we go.
And Brother Rhino,
yes, sir.
I would challenge you to find his album, It's Nation Time.
Oh, I have it already, bro.
You have it already? All right.
I have it.
All right.
Yeah, I play that often. And
there you go.
I play that song specifically. It's Nation Time. I play that one a lot.
It's Nation Time.
Yeah, that's a theme song right there, brother.
Yes, sir, brother. It's Nation Time. Shout with bells and drums. It's Nation Time.
Rhino, before you came on, Sister Dawn, she said Tupac. Dawn, there's a message in the chat for you as well. Chairman, speaking of Amiri Sr., what is the name of the building that he always had a vision for building? He named it, he said that he had
Howard Towers.
Okay. Because Mayor Baraka's doing a project in that memory right now, right? I think there's a project
there is
coming
going to be a Howard Towers. It's not going to be in the North Shore. It's going to be North. And let's appreciate that. Donna, since you raised that, let's appreciate that. That was a direct frontal attack on Newark style segregation. Let's be real clear about that. A black man on Bloomfield Avenue in Newark, New Jersey, circa 1967 was fair game for violent attack either by the police or by those racists in the North Ward. Amiri deliberately made that a frontal attack because we need to be able to go anywhere in our city that we want to.
And the ALD marched right past the Kawa'ita Towers site.
Kawa'ita Towers.
I was in
Yeah. One of the viewers just put a comment in about William Avant. And I just want to say I knew Bill Avant. He was a student at I guess it was Malcolm X Shabazz by the time we met each other. And he was a good brother. I just want to say to the sister that he was a good brother. I remember, in fact, we were taught, his name came up in our remembrances in our discussion yesterday about people from Southside High School. I also want to say my mother was a graduate of Southside High School. My mother, Grace Hamm, she went to Cleveland Elementary School and then to Southside High School. There it is. That's it. It's nation time.
We got to get back in the studio. We can really rock it. And you know what? I'm going to tell you something. I'm not going to make any announcements formally, but I was given a hint that there may be a space where we can possibly be welcome to go back into the studio. I hope it praying plays out. So any closing remarks for all of our guests as we wind this down?
Well, we gonna let Rhino, because I know Rhino came on. He may have some hip hop news. So
right.
Yeah.
All right, real
So
quick.
Rhino,
Yeah, I know we only got a couple of minutes. But I definitely want to put out there. You know, I was at NJ Pack yesterday. I was able to
yes.
I had a chance to go to NJ Pack for the spoken word event that they had there. And I definitely want to big up, man, the super legends, man, Chuck D, Rakim, Slick Rick that came through. Big ups to Miss Jones who hosted the event. And big ups to all of the sisters that came out and did spoken word. There was a lot of young female poets, man.
Name some of them.
Yeah, well, I don't have their names with me right now, man. But they killed it yesterday, man. I know there was some fellas that I know one dude I knew, he was like, yeah, man, I feel attacked. You know what I'm saying? But the sisters were really bringing it, man. You know what I mean? And I really appreciate that. It was a beautiful thing to see. The young sisters really came strong. And again, you know, the legends, man, that came out, you know, Slick Rick, Rakim, and Chuck D, man, they always represented, man, you know, drop their hits and just, you know, always doing what they do when it comes down to the community and bringing the message. You know what I'm saying? So that was a good thing. Also, is speaking of the sisters, I want to also shout out Moni Love. Moni Love is one of the queens of the native tongues. You know, she came in with Queen Latifah.
Oh, Moni in the middle.
Moni in the middle, that's right. Moni Love, she just dropped an album. She calls it an EP, but it's 8 songs. I kind of call it EP like 6 songs, but she dropped a project recently. It's called Love Notes, and you want to go check that out, man. She's got a few joints on there, and you know it's always good to hear, you know, our hip hop legends from a classic time, people that we heard from the 80s and 90s doing music today in 2025. It's always a beautiful thing to hear grown up hip hop, you know what I'm saying? So big ups to Moni Love, and look out for her album, Love Notes. And the big thing that's been going viral all day is the release of De La Soul's album, Cabin in the Sky. Yeah, man, everybody's been talking about it. I heard it myself, and it's a beautiful album. It's a great tribute to Dave. You know, we lost Dave a couple of years ago. You know, to some health issues that he was dealing with. And, you know, De La Soul, you know, and it was right after we lost Dave, right after De La Soul had solidified their deal, or right around the time when they solidified their you know, getting their masters and all of that stuff, and getting back into the streaming world, because they missed out that whole era of streaming because of, you know, their deal with Tommy Boy and all of that. So they got with Reservoir Media, and Reservoir Media looked them out, you know, hit them off with their money and you know, and their masters, and you know, just gave them their freedom. You know what I'm saying? So big ups to Reservoir Media as well. But big ups to De La Soul. They dropped a real heartfelt album, man. You know what I'm saying? Touching on life and death. You know, they had to talk about, you know, losing Dave. You know what I'm saying? And wow. You know, it was real touching album, man. You know,
the emotions go up and down throughout the whole album. You know, at one point you're feeling good, at one point you're feeling a little sad. You know what I'm saying? At the very end, you definitely dropping tears. You know, again, rest in peace to Dave. There's Q-Tip, there's Nas, there's Black Thought, there's a bunch of people that's on the album as well, featured on the album. So you definitely want to check it out. But it's De La in you know, it's Paz de News and Mace, you know, De La Soul in their element, man. You know, it's still a feel-good album. One thing we know about De La Soul, they always know how to bring joy, you know what I'm saying, and bring that grown-up hip-hop. And, you know, they touch on all of that, man, life and death, you know what I'm saying? So big ups to De La Soul, rest in peace to Dave, True Goy, The Dove, Plug 2. And yeah, definitely look out for that album. It's called Cabin in the Sky. It's out there right now. Go get it, please, because they need that support, man, and it's worth it, man. It's really worth the money.
Well, the hour has come, so thank everybody for being here, and thank you for staying with us and not being at the Brandy and Monica concert tonight, because a lot of roads led to Prudential Center. Zaid, you want to give everybody a shout out tonight that was here?
That's quite a few. Well, we want to apologize again that we weren't able to have the mayor tonight for the men's meeting, and the weight of his calendar did not allow that. But it allowed for us to have a very passionate, full discussion of what was a horrible weekend of violent tragedy that was the mass shooting in the South Ward, and a young man falling out of the window and losing his life. The community came together and responded to that. We were blessed to have a very bright voice running for Mikie Sherrill's seat in Cammie Kroft. Fascinating young woman who's got a serious background. We want to see how that goes and where the other candidates are and all of that. We'll be lifting that up. The Jersey City runoff is in a little while. I've been trying to get those candidates to come over. They need to recognize what time it is and just come on over and get a taste of some of this love, right? I want to thank Dawn. We got Bashir was texting me. I said, man, get on it. Get take the link. Get on, right? To have Bashir back, and Dawn and all that they have been doing in that response. Both of them took the point of building out that response to that tragedy this weekend, right? And right here, the three gentlemen here from the Mighty People's Organization for Progress, right? Steve Bernhart, the brainchild behind the Long March for Mumia, right? And the Princeton Radical Tag Team of Lawrence Hamm and Lawrence Hamm.
Stop with that.
Right on.
Well, you say PS29 and 15.
Everybody
Thank you,
coming from Princeton ain't coming out rad, so you better take that so we can ride that for as long as I got to get Gerald Horn on it. He has been on my mind, and he would definitely round that out, right? It's awesome.
And thank our tech department in the background, Rafisa doing her thing. So thank you. And DJ Rhino.
Rafisa.
And DJ Rhino, we got a lot to talk about. So make sure, we got some challenging news about the Fugees on the news. So we got to come back and talk about all this stuff. Okay.
Yeah. We got there's news on Praz. Praz just got 14 years?
Yeah, that's messy.
14 years, yeah.
Yeah, we gotta come back and talk about that some more.
Okay.
All right.
All right. All roads lead to Delaney Hall tomorrow, and down to and as well to the masjid. So thank everybody for being with us. And Zaid, how you say it?
We'll see you in the whirlwind, and you don't stop.